Hi, I'm Emma, a 29-year-old software engineer from San Francisco. When I got home from work, I was shocked to find my bedroom door open. Instead of my neatly arranged room, there were boxes of baby clothes and a crib where my desk used to be. My younger brother Ryan, who had moved out after getting married, was nowhere to be seen. "Ryan, what happened here?" I shouted, my voice echoing off the empty walls. Ryan appeared from down the hall with a sheepish smile. "Hey Emma, surprise. Jen and I needed space for the baby, and your room is the biggest," he said. I felt upset. "You moved out my things? This is my house too. You can't just take over my space," I said. Ryan shrugged. "It's not like you need all this space. Plus, it's better for the baby." I tried to stay calm. "Better for your baby? Where are my things, Ryan?" "They're in the garage. I thought you wouldn't mind," Ryan said. "Mind? Of course, I mind. Since when did you decide to move back here anyway?" "We're tight on cash, and this place is as much mine as it is yours." Mom and Dad agreed, Ryan said. It hurt that our parents had taken his side without considering that I had been paying the mortgage and expenses for years. This wasn't just about space, it was about respect. "So you all just made this decision without talking to me?" "I pay the bills here. My money keeps this house running," I said. Ryan crossed his arms. "Well, maybe it's time you stopped. We'll take over from here." I was stunned. "You and Jen can't even handle your own rent, and now you want to handle a $66,000 mortgage? That's a joke." "We'll figure it out. We always do. Why don't you find a smaller place? It'll be quieter for you, with no crying babies," Ryan said. The conversation wasn't going anywhere, and with each word, Ryan pushed me further away. I felt both betrayed and shut out from my own home. I knew I had to make a choice, stay and fight for my space or leave and let them face the consequences of their decisions. Looking around at the remnants of my life, the choice was clear. "Fine, Ryan," I said quietly, my energy fading. "I hope you figure it out, but don't expect any more money from me." Ryan's eyes widened slightly, realizing he hadn't fully considered the impact of his actions. But it was too late. I was done being taken for granted. As I walked to my car, I felt a bit of relief from years of feeling unappreciated. They might not have valued my contributions, but I did, and I wasn't going to support people who didn't respect me. I drove away from the home I'd known as an adult, feeling a mix of anger, sadness, and a new sense of freedom. A chapter of my life was closing, but a new one was beginning. As I drove through the city, the familiar skyline felt like a sign of new beginnings. For the first time in a long time, I was choosing myself, and it was both scary and exciting. The cold night air was sharp against my face as I arrived at my friend Mia's place. The drive had been a blur of streetlights and scattered thoughts. Mia opened the door before I could even knock, her face showing concern and surprise. "You look like you've seen a ghost. What happened?" she asked. I sighed, my shoulders heavy. "I did it, Mia. I told them I'm moving out and I'm not paying another cent for that house." Mia led me to the sofa and handed me a warm cup of tea. "Wow, that's huge. Are you sure about this?" "Yes," I replied, my voice steady even if my feelings were mixed. "They need to understand." I wanted them to see what life was like without me, hoping they'd finally appreciate everything I'd done over the years. Talking with Mia helped me sort through my feelings, but it didn't ease the guilt of leaving my parents or the anger toward Ryan for causing all this mess. Despite Mia's reassurances, the night was restless, filled with doubts and what-ifs. The next morning, I started looking for a new place. As I browsed listings, I realized I could afford something smaller but nicer, closer to work. The idea of living downtown, away from the tension of my family home, felt freeing. By the end of the week, I had signed a lease for a modern apartment in a high-rise with a view of the Bay Bridge. It was my own space, decorated to my taste, and it felt like a fresh start where I could redefine what home meant to me. Over the weekend, Mia and a few colleagues helped me move in. My phone buzzed nonstop with calls and messages from my parents, who were frantic about the financial burden now on their shoulders. "Emma, please, we need to talk. We can't handle the mortgage on our own." My dad's voicemail echoed through the empty living room. I felt a pang of sympathy, but years of being taken for granted had strengthened my resolve. They had quickly and easily chosen Ryan's side, and now it was time for them to deal with the consequences of their decisions. I focused on setting up my new life, arranging furniture, and hanging art. Each piece I added felt like a statement of my independence, a declaration that I was no longer the family's fallback. As the sun set over the city, casting a golden glow across my new living room, I felt a sense of peace for the first time in weeks. This was my space, my choices, my life. The break from my family was harsh, but necessary. I had chosen myself over the perpetual role of supporter, and though the future was uncertain, it was mine to shape. My new apartment was completely mine, and settling in felt like a breath of fresh air. Each morning, sipping coffee on my balcony and looking out over the city, I enjoyed the peace and freedom. My days were filled with work, exploring new cafes, and reconnecting with friends I'd neglected during the years of family drama. I was starting to rediscover who I was before my role as the family's financial support took over. However, as I built my new life, my old one was falling apart. My phone was constantly buzzing with messages and missed calls from my parents, who were struggling without my financial help. One evening, after a nice dinner with friends, I saw multiple missed calls from mom and dad. I hesitated but decided to listen to their voicemails. "Emma, it's Mom. We need to talk. The bank called today. They're talking about foreclosure if we can't make the next payment. We didn't realize how much we relied on your help. Please call us back." I sighed, feeling a deep sadness. It wasn't joy I felt, but sorrow for what could have been if they had valued me more. Going back wasn't an option. The next day, while at work, I got a text from Ryan that surprised me. "We really messed up. Emma, I didn't think you'd actually leave. We're losing the house because of me. I'm sorry." Ryan's message made me feel both vindicated and sad. It was the first time he acknowledged he'd taken me for granted, but his apology felt too little, too late. I replied simply, "I hope you find a way to fix this, Ryan. I'm not your safety net anymore." As weeks turned into months, my parents had to sell the house and move into a smaller, more affordable place. Ryan and Jen downsized too, moving into a modest apartment that stretched their budget. Through mutual friends, I heard about their struggles. Ryan took on extra work, and Jen started freelancing to make ends meet. They were learning the hard way about self-sufficiency and the cost of taking others for granted. Even though they were struggling, I found it hard to feel happy about their situation. There was no joy in their hardship, only a quiet recognition that this was a necessary chapter for all of us. They needed to experience life without a safety net, and I needed to follow my own path without carrying their expectations. My decision to step back had sparked change, not only for me, but for my entire family. We were all adjusting to new realities, and while the distance between us grew, so did my confidence in my choice. I had prioritized my well-being, and each day, the guilt faded, replaced by a stronger sense of self. Living in my high-rise apartment with the cityscape before me, my life found a new rhythm filled with possibilities and personal achievements. The freedom to make my own choices, free from family expectations, was exhilarating. Each day, I immersed myself in work and passions, finding joy in things that once seemed out of reach. My freelancing career flourished with the extra hours I could now dedicate. I expanded my network, took on challenging projects, and saw my reputation as a skilled software engineer grow. This success brought financial stability and a sense of accomplishment that was entirely my own, untainted by family obligations or guilt. But even as I thrived, the shadow of my family situation lingered. The family home, once a symbol of shared memories and unspoken agreements of support, was sold, marking the end of an era. My parents, now living in a modest condo, were beginning to grasp the weight of their previous expectations and the consequences of their choices. One quiet evening, as I looked out over the city lights, I received an email from my mom, something I had both dreaded and anticipated. She wrote about the house sale, the pain of downsizing, and the lessons they had learned. Most importantly, she offered a heartfelt apology for taking my contributions for granted and acknowledged the unfair pressure they had put on me. Reading her words, I felt a mix of relief and sadness. It wasn't the joy of vindication, but a somber acceptance of how much had changed. I replied with careful and honest words, expressing hope for their new beginning and a desire for a future where we could reconnect, not as dependents and benefactors, but as family. As weeks passed, our communication, once tense, began to soften. We shared updates and small talk, rebuilding bridges that had seemed irreparably burned. Ryan also reached out with more thoughtful and mature messages. He shared news about his growing family and new job, showing he was trying to make amends through actions rather than words. Meanwhile, I continued to build my new life. I explored new hobbies, made new friends, and traveled. Each experience added layers to my identity that were uniquely mine. I learned to balance the joy of independence with the often difficult dynamics of family relationships, the poetic justice of their situation, the consequences they faced, And the growth we all experienced didn't come with a neat, storybook ending. Instead, it was an ongoing journey of learning, understanding, and, most importantly, forgiving, at a pace that respected all our paths. In this new chapter of my life, I found not only success and independence, but also a deeper understanding of forgiveness and family love. It was a beginning that promised not just happiness, but lasting peace, shaped by the challenges of the past. And that's where our story ends. Emma learned to stand up for herself and redefine her relationships on her own terms. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Do you think Emma made the right choice by stopping her financial support, or should she have handled it differently to keep family ties intact? Dive into the comments and share your thoughts on finding the balance between personal independence and family obligations. If you enjoyed the story, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Your support helps us continue sharing these stories.
Glass shattered downstairs, followed by a muffled curse that made my blood run cold. I knew that voice. The same voice that had criticized my wedding dress, my choice of career, and most recently, my parenting skills. I gripped the baseball bat from behind our bedroom door, my bare feet silent on the hardwood floor. Charlie slept peacefully in his room, unaware that his grandmother had just broken into our house at 3 in the morning. The kitchen lights blazed as I crept down the stairs. Dolly Monroe stood amid a sea of scattered luggage, holding a broken flower vase like it personally offended her. Her silver-streaked hair was perfectly coiffed despite the ungodly hour. Really, Penelope? These hideous flowers by the door? I told Mark you have no sense of style. She dropped the broken pieces into the trash without a hint of remorse. Where's my son? What are you doing in my house, Dolly? Don't be dramatic. I'm moving in. She wheeled another suitcase through the doorway. Marcus knows all about it. My fingers tightened around the bat. Mark knows nothing about this. Oh, but he does. She pulled out her phone, showing me a text conversation. He agreed weeks ago. Didn't he tell you? My husband's messages glowed on the screen. Of course you can stay, Mom. As long as you need. Dated 3 weeks ago. The bat lowered to my side as reality sank in. My own husband had betrayed me, invited his mother into our sanctuary without a single word to me. Now, be a dear and help me with these bags. Dolly gestured to the pile of expensive luggage cluttering my entryway. The guest room needs a thorough cleaning, by the way. I noticed cobwebs last time I visited. There is no guest room anymore. It's Charlie's playroom. Her face hardened. Well, that won't do at all. We'll move his things tomorrow. Children don't need that much space anyway. You're not touching my son's room. Don't be difficult, Penelope. I raised Marcus just fine without all these modern parenting notions. She began dragging a suitcase toward the stairs. Speaking of which, I've noticed Charlie seems quite attached to you. Not healthy at his age. My chest tightened. He's 2. Precisely. Marcus was much more independent at that age. But we'll work on that. Footsteps creaked overhead, Mark, finally awakening to the chaos below. I watched him descend, his face shifting from confusion to recognition to guilt. Mom? What are you doing here now? I thought you weren't coming until next month. Plans changed, darling. She kissed his cheek, shooting me a triumphant look. The house sold faster than expected. But you said any time was fine, remember? Mark's eyes met mine, pleading for understanding. Penny, I meant to tell you. When? The word came out sharp enough to make him flinch. When exactly were you planning to tell me your mother was moving in? Don't be angry with him, Dolly interjected. He's such a good son, taking care of his mother in her time of need. A cry echoed from upstairs, Charlie, awakened by the commotion. Before I could move, Dolly was already heading toward the stairs. I'll get him. Poor dear needs his grandmother's touch. Don't you dare. My voice was barely a whisper, but it stopped her mid-step. Touch my son, and I swear. Penny! Mark's shock at my tone only fueled my rage. No. I moved between Dolly and the stairs. This is my house. My son. You don't get to waltz in here and take over. Dolly's smile never wavered. Oh, sweetheart. I already have. Charlie's cries grew louder, and I faced a choice: deal with my mother-in-law or comfort my son. As I turned to climb the stairs, I caught her satisfied smirk. This was just the beginning. She thought she'd won, but she had no idea what I was capable of. Not yet. 3 days into Dolly's invasion, I found her rearranging my kitchen cabinets. My grandmother's china set, the only thing I had left of her, sat in a cardboard box marked donate. These old dishes were taking up so much space, she said, not bothering to look at me. And really, Penelope, organizing by color instead of function? No wonder Marcus always complained about never finding anything. I clutched the box to my chest. Mark never complained about the kitchen. Oh, he wouldn't, to you. She slid another stack of plates into a new spot. He's too kind. But a mother knows when her son is unhappy. The sound of Charlie's laughter drifted in from the living room, where Mark was supposedly watching him. Instead, I found my 2-year-old covered in chocolate, drawing on the walls with sticky fingers while Mark dozed on the couch. I gave him a little treat, Dolly called from the kitchen. Poor thing never gets sweets. All that organic nonsense you insist on. I grabbed the wet wipes, kneeling beside Charlie. Hey, baby. Let's get you cleaned up. No. He squirmed away, leaving chocolate handprints on my shirt. Gamma said play. The word stabbed through me. 3 days, and she'd already trained him to call her that. Mark. I nudged his foot. Wake up. Your son is destroying our walls. He stirred, blinking at the mess. Oh, shit, shoot. Sorry, I dozed off. While your mother fed him sugar and let him vandalize the house. Come on, Penny. It's not vandalism. He's just being a kid. A kid who's going to be impossible to put down for his nap now. Dolly appeared in the doorway. Naps are another modern obsession. Marcus never needed them past age 2. Well, Charlie does. I lifted my squirming son. And he needs structure, not sugar and chaos. Structure? She laughed. Is that what you call your rigid little schedules? Children need freedom to explore. Mom, Mark started, but she waved him off. I'm only trying to help. Heaven knows you both need it, working such long hours. Which reminds me, I've been thinking about the guest room situation. There is no situation, I said. You're not taking Charlie's playroom. Actually, Mark cleared his throat. Maybe we should consider it. Just temporarily. Mom needs her own space, and Charlie has plenty of room in his bedroom for toys. The betrayal burned worse than the first night. You're taking her side? I'm not taking sides. I'm trying to be practical. Practical would have been discussing this with your wife before inviting your mother to live with us. Dolly touched Mark's arm. Don't let her make you feel guilty, darling. You're being a good son. A good son? I laughed. What about being a good husband? A good father? Penny. No. I'm done. I headed for the stairs with Charlie. Clean up this mess. Both of you. You see how she speaks to you? Dolly's voice carried up the stairs. So disrespectful. Your father would never have tolerated. Don't. Mark's sharp tone surprised me. Don't bring Dad into this. I paused on the landing, holding Charlie closer. I'm only saying what he would have said, Dolly continued, her voice softening. He always worried about you, you know. Worried you'd let someone control you. The silence that followed felt heavy with unspoken words. Then Mark sighed, that same defeated sound I'd heard too often lately. I'll clean up the walls, he said. And maybe we can look at reorganizing the upstairs this weekend. I carried Charlie to his room, my mind racing. Dolly wasn't just trying to take over my house, she was rewriting history, manipulating Mark's memories of his own father. But she'd made a mistake, revealing that particular weapon. Because I remembered Mark's father differently. Remembered the letters he'd written Mark before he died, warning him about Dolly's manipulations. Letters that Mark had never seen, because his mother had intercepted them. Letters I'd found in our attic last year, hidden in an old box of Mark's childhood things. I kissed Charlie's chocolate-stained cheek. Time to clean up, baby. Mommy has some planning to do. The letters felt heavy in my hands as I sat in Lisa's kitchen, away from Dolly's prying eyes. My neighbor poured more wine, waiting for me to speak. She's playing sick now, I said. Clutching her chest, taking these mysterious pills. Mark's completely falling for it. Classic manipulation. Lisa leaned forward. What's in the letters? Everything. His father knew what she was doing, tried to warn Mark before he died. I spread the yellowed pages across her counter. He wrote about how she isolated them, controlled everything through guilt and fake emergencies. A text lit up my phone, Mark asking where I was. I ignored it. You have to show him, Lisa said. I tried. This morning, I mentioned his father's concerns about Dolly. He shut down completely, said I was being cruel bringing up painful memories. While she gets to weaponize those same memories? My phone buzzed again. This time it was Dolly. Marcus is worried sick. I'm not feeling well, and Charlie keeps asking for his mother. She's good, I muttered, showing Lisa the text. Really good. You need to get back, don't you? I nodded, gathering the letters. Thanks for the wine. And the sanctuary. The house was quiet when I returned, too quiet. I found Mark in the kitchen, his face grave. Where were you? He asked. At Lisa's. I needed a break. While Mom was having chest pains? My stomach clenched. What? She could barely breathe, Penny. Charlie was crying, and you weren't here. I was gone for 2 hours. The doctor's coming tomorrow. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Mom thinks the stress is making her condition worse. What condition? She's never mentioned any condition before. Because you never bothered to ask. His outburst startled us both. You've been hostile since she arrived. Maybe if you tried to understand. Understand what? How she's systematically taking over our home. Undermining every decision I make about Charlie? She's trying to help. No, she's manipulating you. Just like she always has. His face hardened. You don't know anything about my mother. I know your father tried to warn you about her. Don't. He wrote you letters, Mark. Letters she hid from you. Stop it. He turned away. I'm not having this conversation. From upstairs, Dolly's voice carried down, Marcus? I'm feeling quite faint. He rushed past me without another word. I followed, reaching the top of the stairs in time to see Dolly swooning dramatically on the landing, one hand pressed to her heart. Maybe we should go to the hospital, Mark suggested, supporting her. No, no. She patted his arm weakly. I just need rest. And perhaps if things were calmer here. Her eyes met mine, triumphant despite her performance. I'll make you some tea, Mark said. Such a good son. She smiled. Oh, and Penelope? Charlie's toys are everywhere in that playroom. I nearly tripped. We really must do something about that space. I watched them disappear into her temporary room, the room she was systematically turning permanent. Through the partially open door, I heard her murmuring to Mark. I hate to say it, darling, but I'm worried about Penelope. These accusations, the hostility. It reminds me of your father's sister. You remember what happened to her? Mom, please. I just don't want history repeating itself. Especially with Charlie so young. I backed away, my hands shaking. She wasn't just trying to take my home or undermine my marriage. She was laying groundwork, planting seeds of doubt about my stability, my fitness as a mother. In Charlie's room, I found him sleeping peacefully, clutching the stuffed elephant I'd given him. Dolly had tried to replace it with a new toy, but he'd refused. My small victory. I touched his soft cheek, making a decision. The letters weren't enough. I needed more, concrete evidence of her manipulation, her lies. And I needed to move fast, before she convinced Mark I was the threat to our family's stability. Sweet dreams, baby, I whispered. Mommy's going to fix this. Whatever it takes. I found the papers in Dolly's purse while searching for her supposed heart medication. Instead of prescription bottles, I discovered legal documents, a deed transfer form for our house. Already filled out with Mark's signature line highlighted in yellow. My hands trembled as I photographed each page with my phone. Through the bedroom window, I could see Dolly in the garden with Charlie, teaching him to pull up my carefully planted herbs. Weeds, she'd called them yesterday. This garden needs a proper English layout. The front door opened downstairs. Mark, home early. I slipped the papers back into her purse, exactly as I'd found them. Mom? His voice carried upstairs. Penny? I met him in the kitchen, where he was frowning at a stack of mail. Why is there a letter from the bank about refinancing? He asked. What? He held up the envelope. Did you apply for a loan without telling me? I've never, the realization hit like ice water. Show me that. The application was in both our names, with forged signatures and inflated income statements. My stomach lurched when I saw the requested amount, enough to buy out my share of the house, if someone were planning to force a sale. Mark, I didn't do this. Then who did? His voice had that edge now, the one that appeared whenever he thought I was attacking his mother. Because it wasn't me, and Mom's been too sick to. Sick? I laughed, the sound harsh even to my ears. Go check her purse. See how many heart medications you find. Stop it. Just stop. He rubbed his temples. First the accusations about Dad's letters, now this? What's next? Are you going to claim she's trying to steal the house too? The irony burned. Actually. Marcus? Dolly appeared in the doorway, supporting herself on the frame. Charlie clung to her leg, dirt smeared across his cheeks. I heard raised voices. "Is everything all right?" "Everything's fine, Mom. Just discussing some paperwork." Her eyes flickered to the loan application, then to me. A slight smile touched her lips. "Gamma stay forever?" Charlie asked, and something in me snapped. I grabbed my phone, pulling up the photos. "Look at these, Mark." "Really look. What are you?" "Your mother's been planning this from the start. The deed transfer, the loan application, she's trying to take our home." Dolly swayed dramatically. "Oh, Marcus, she's doing it again. Just like this morning, making these wild accusations." "I have proof this time." I thrust the phone at Mark. "She's not sick. She's not helpless. She's..." "Enough." Mark's shout made Charlie jump. "I can't take any more of this paranoia. Mom's right, you need help." "Help?" The word felt like ash in my mouth. "I've been reading about postpartum psychosis," Dolly said softly. "It can appear months or even years after." "Don't you dare." I stepped toward her, but Mark moved between us. "Penny, you're scaring Charlie." Our son was crying now, still clutching Dolly's leg. She stroked his hair with practiced concern. "Perhaps I should take him upstairs," she suggested. "While you two talk?" "No." I moved to grab Charlie, but Mark caught my arm. "Let her take him," he said. "You're not thinking clearly." I watched helplessly as Dolly led my son away, her limp magically more pronounced. The moment they disappeared upstairs, I wrenched free from Mark's grip. "She's going to take everything," I whispered. "And you're helping her do it." "I'm trying to help you." He reached for me again, but I backed away. "We can find someone for you to talk to, get you the support you need." "Support?" I grabbed my keys from the counter. "I'll show you exactly what kind of support I need." "Where are you going?" "To get my son back." I headed for the stairs. "And if you try to stop me, I swear I'll..." "You'll what?" His voice was cold now. "Prove everything Mom's been saying about your stability?" I froze, understanding finally hitting me. This was her masterpiece, turning my own husband against me, making my desperate attempts to protect our family look like madness. "You're right," I said quietly. "I need some air. Just a walk to clear my head." He relaxed slightly, believing he'd won. But as I walked out the door, I wasn't heading for a casual stroll. I was going to war. Lisa's laptop glowed in the darkness of her kitchen as we scrolled through years of Dolly's social media history. Empty wine glasses and scattered papers surrounded us, bank statements, property records, old newspaper clippings. There, Lisa pointed. 3 other houses in 5 years. All belonging to widowers or divorced men with children. And she lived in each one until the families fell apart. Lisa clicked through the photos. "She's done this before, Penny. Multiple times." My phone buzzed, another message from Mark, "Come home. We can talk about this." And then, "Mom's worried about your state of mind." "He's already talking about psychiatric evaluations," I said. "Dolly's convinced him I'm having some kind of breakdown." "Then we need proof she's done this before." Lisa opened another tab. "Look, this woman posted warnings about her years ago. Caroline Bennett. Her father almost lost everything." A sharp knock at Lisa's front door made us both jump. Through the window, I saw Mark's silhouette. Hide this, I whispered, helping Lisa clear the evidence. He can't know what we found. Mark's face was tight with concern when Lisa let him in. Charlie's been crying for you. I needed space to think. About what? Running away? Taking our son? He stepped closer. Mom found the packed bag in your closet. The bag I'd never packed. The trap I should have seen coming. Mark. She's right, isn't she? You're not well. Your mother is a predator. The words burst out before I could stop them. She's done this before, to other families. I can prove it. More conspiracy theories? He shook his head. This is exactly what she warned me about. Ask Caroline Bennett. I grabbed my phone, pulling up the social media post. Or David Thompson's family. Or... Stop. He held up his hand. Just stop. Come home. We'll get you help. I'm not crazy. Then why are you acting like this? Searching through Mom's things, making wild accusations, planning to kidnap our son? I never. The bag, Penny. Packed with Charlie's clothes and your passport. Lisa stepped between us. Mark, maybe you should listen. Stay out of this. His voice hardened. You're only encouraging her paranoia. My phone chimed again. A message from an unknown number. This is Caroline Bennett. Lisa reached out. We need to talk about Dolores Monroe. Hope flared, but I kept my expression neutral. Fine, I said. You're right. I need to come home. Mark's relief was painful to watch. Thank you. Mom suggested we talk to Dr. Phillips tomorrow. Whatever you think is best. I touched his arm, feeling him relax further. I just need to use the bathroom first. In Lisa's bathroom, I quickly typed a response to Caroline, tell me everything. Recording all conversations from now on. Then I deleted the messages and turned on my phone's voice recorder. If Dolly wanted to play games with reality, I'd give her exactly what she wanted, a seemingly unstable daughter-in-law. Slowly surrendering to her manipulation. Let her think she'd won. Let her get comfortable. Let her slip up and reveal her true self, just like she had with the others. When I emerged, Mark was waiting by the door. Ready? Yes. I smiled weakly. I'm sorry for worrying you. In the car, he reached for my hand. It's going to be okay. Mom knows a great therapist. Of course she does. I squeezed his hand, picturing Caroline Bennett's message. Your mother knows exactly what I need. At home, Dolly waited in the living room, Charlie asleep in her lap. Her expression was perfect, concerned, loving, victorious. Oh, sweetheart, she said. We've been so worried. I let my shoulders slump in defeat. I know. I'm sorry. She patted the couch beside her. Sit. Tell me what's troubling you. As I sat down, my phone silently recording in my pocket, I thought about all the other families she'd destroyed. All the other lives she'd invaded and dismantled. You're right, I whispered. I need help. Her smile widened, and in that moment, I saw what Caroline Bennett must have seen, the predator beneath the mask, already savoring her victory. But this time would be different. This time, her prey was hunting back. Caroline Bennett's testimony played through my phone's speaker, her voice trembling even years later. She destroyed my family. Made my father think I was unstable, dangerous. By the time we realized what she'd done, she already had control of everything. I watched Mark's face as he listened, searching for any sign of recognition. We sat in our kitchen at midnight, Charlie safely asleep upstairs, while Dolly attended her doctor's appointment, really a meeting with her lawyer about the house deed. There are others, I said softly. David Thompson's family. The Hendersons. All the same pattern. Mark stared at his hands. This could be anyone. Some angry ex-daughter-in-law making accusations. Check the dates. The properties. It all matches. You've been investigating my mother? His voice hardened. Working with these strangers to build some case against her? To protect our family. From what? She's helped us. Taken care of Charlie, supported us. Supported us? I played another recording, Dolly on the phone with her lawyer yesterday. Once the deed transfer is complete, we can discuss options for removing her from the property. Marcus will understand eventually. He always does what's best for family. The kitchen door creaked. We both turned to find Dolly standing there, her face a perfect mask of hurt betrayal. "Oh, Marcus," she whispered. "What has she done to you?" Done to him? I stood, finally ready for this confrontation. Tell him about the others, Dolly. Tell him what happened to their families. Others? She moved to Mark's side, touching his shoulder. Darling, this is worse than I feared. She's created an entire conspiracy. Stop lying. I thrust my phone forward, playing Caroline's testimony again. Your name is on all the property records. The dates, the pattern. Anyone could fake those recordings. Dolly's voice cracked perfectly. I knew you were troubled, but this elaborate plot to turn my son against me. Plot? I laughed. Like the planted bag in my closet? The forged loan documents? What documents? Mark asked. The ones that disappeared from her purse after I photographed them. I reached for my phone again, but the screen was black. Dead battery. No, no, no. Sweetheart, Dolly said to Mark, remember what Dr. Phillips said about paranoid delusions? The elaborate stories they create? I'm not, I stopped, seeing Mark's expression. You've already been talking to doctors about me? We had to, he said. Mom's been worried. Of course she has. I backed away from them both. She's been planning this from the start. Planning what? Dolly's voice rose. To help you? To support this family while you spiral further into these dangerous fantasies? Mark, please. I grabbed his arm. Call Caroline Bennett. Talk to the others. Just investigate. He pulled away. I did investigate. That number you gave me? It's disconnected. The property records? Mom never owned those houses. I checked everything, Penny. There's nothing there. The room spun. That's not possible. Lisa saw. Lisa enabled you, Dolly said gently. Fed into your paranoia. That's why we asked her to keep her distance. Asked her? Ice filled my veins. What did you do? We filed a restraining order, Mark said. For your own good. She was making everything worse. I ran to the window. Lisa's house was dark, empty. Where is she? Visiting family, Dolly said. She understood it was best to give you space to heal. My last ally, gone. My evidence, erased. Even the photos on my phone, I checked again, hands shaking, deleted during the battery death. I've arranged everything, Dolly continued. The facility has an excellent reputation. Very discreet. Facility? The word barely came out. Just for a few weeks, Mark said. Until you're better. I looked between them, my husband's pained expression, Dolly's perfectly constructed concern, and understood. This was her masterpiece. Every move calculated, every piece positioned. While I thought I was gathering evidence, she was building her case. Every reaction she'd provoked, every paranoid accusation she'd engineered, had led to this moment. Charlie needs his mother healthy, Dolly said, reaching for my arm. Come with us. Let us help you. I jerked away, but Mark blocked the doorway. Through the window, I saw headlights approaching, the intervention team Dolly had undoubtedly already arranged. My son slept upstairs, unaware his mother was about to disappear. Just like Caroline Bennett's family. Just like all the others. Game over. Dolly had won. Or had she? The intervention team never made it through the door. Instead, they found Caroline Bennett herself standing on our porch, flanked by 2 police officers and a silver-haired man I'd never seen before. Hello, Dolly, the man said. Remember me? James Thompson. David's brother. Dolly's mask slipped for just a second. Marcus, call security. Security? Caroline stepped forward. Like the private security firm you hired to intimidate me? The one that's now under investigation? Mark looked between them, confusion breaking through his certainty. Mom? Don't listen to them, Dolly grabbed his arm. They're working with Penelope, trying to destroy our family. Like you destroyed mine? James Thompson pulled out a folder. We have the proof now. All of it. The forged documents, the manipulated bank records, the falsified medical reports. And the recordings, I added quietly. The ones you thought you deleted from my phone? Lisa uploaded everything to a secure server before she went away. Dolly's composure cracked. You ungrateful little. Choose your next words carefully, one officer warned. We have questions about several suspicious property transfers in 3 states. Mark backed away from his mother, realization dawning. The houses. The other families. It's all true? Of course not. But Dolly's denial sounded hollow now. Marcus, darling, they're trying to turn you against me. Just like your father. My father? Mark's voice hardened. Tell me about the letters, Mom. The ones he wrote before he died. What letters? I pulled them from my jacket, the originals this time, not copies. The ones where he warned Mark about you. About your patterns. The ones you intercepted and hid. You went through my things? Real fear crept into her voice. No, Mark said. I did. Last night, while you were meeting your lawyer. Found them exactly where Penny said they'd be. Dolly lunged for the letters, but Mark pulled them away. Don't bother. I've read them all. Every warning, every detail about what you did to our family. I protected you. She was unraveling now, her careful facade crumbling. Your father was weak, just like you're being weak now. Everything I did was for your own good. By destroying everyone I love? By trying to commit my wife? She was ruining everything. Just like your father, just like all of them, trying to take you away from me." The officers moved forward, but Dolly wasn't finished. She turned to me, eyes wild. "You think you've won? You think this changes anything?" She laughed, the sound brittle. "He'll always choose me. They always do. Because I'm the only one who truly loves them, who understands what's best." "No, Mom." Mark's voice was quiet but firm. "Not anymore." She froze. "Marcus?" "Officers," he said, "I'd like to press charges. For fraud, for the forged documents in my name. For all of it." "You can't," she whispered. "I'm your mother." "Yes. You are. That's what makes this necessary." As the officers led her away, her mask finally shattered completely. She screamed accusations, threats, promises of revenge. But Mark didn't waver. Charlie's cry echoed from upstairs, awakened by the chaos. Mark started to go, but I caught his arm. "Wait." I met his eyes. "Are you sure? About all of this?" He looked at the letters in his hand, then at Dolly being placed in the police car. "I should have seen it sooner. Should have believed you. You saw what she wanted you to see. We all did." He touched my cheek, grief and determination warring in his expression. "I have to go with them. Make a statement, start making this right. Will you still be here when I get back?" Charlie cried out again, and this time I let go of Mark's arm. "We'll be here." "But Mark? Things can't just go back to normal." "I know." He stepped back. "I have to prove myself again. To both of you." I watched him walk away, then climbed the stairs to our son. Through the window, I could see Dolly in the police car, her face a mask of fury and fear. She'd lost everything she tried to steal, her son, her control, her carefully constructed reality. But as I held Charlie, I wondered about the cost of victory and whether any of us would ever truly recover from the wounds she'd left behind. Spring bloomed in my restored garden, the herbs Dolly had ripped out now thriving again. Charlie chased butterflies through the new growth while I pulled weeds, each one a reminder of how quickly unwanted things could take root. The doorbell rang. Lisa stood on the porch with a folder of newspaper clippings. They denied her appeal. She'll serve the full sentence. Good. I brushed dirt from my hands. The others? Caroline Bennett got her father's house back. The Thompsons recovered most of their assets. She hesitated. Mark called me again. Charlie's laughter floated across the yard as he discovered a ladybug. I focused on that sound, not the ache that still accompanied his father's name. He's in therapy, Lisa continued. Real therapy, not the kind Dolly arranged. He wants to know if you'll consider. I can't. The words came easier now. Not yet. Maybe not ever. He's changed. He had to hit rock bottom to see the truth. To choose truth. I watched Charlie playing. I won't risk Charlie going through that again. Lisa nodded, understanding. We'd had this conversation before, would probably have it again. Some wounds needed more than apologies to heal. Inside, I made coffee while Lisa spread out the clippings. Other cases, other families torn apart by Dolly's manipulations. Some had recovered. Others remained fractured, trust too damaged to rebuild. You know what's strange? I touched a photo of Dolly being led from the courthouse. I almost understand her now. The fear of losing control, of being alone. The things it drove her to do. But you're not her. No. I smiled as Charlie ran past the window. I chose to fight for love, not control. The mail arrived, bills, advertisements, and a thick envelope from Mark's lawyer. Inside was a deed transfer, returning full ownership of the house to me. And beneath it, a letter. "You don't have to read it," Lisa said. But I did, scanning words of remorse, of understanding, of hope. The final lines caught me. "I'm learning to recognize manipulation, to stand against it. Like you did. Like you taught me to do. Charlie deserves that strength in both his parents, whether we're together or apart." A cry from outside. Charlie had fallen. I rushed out, but he was already picking himself up, brushing off his knees. Okay, Mommy," he declared. "I strong." "Yes, you are, baby." I hugged him close, breathing in his sweet, solid presence. "We both are." Later, after Lisa left and Charlie was asleep, I sat in my garden. The motion sensor light flickered on, illuminating the space where Dolly had once held court, plotting to steal everything I loved. Now only peaceful shadows remained. My phone buzzed, a text from Caroline Bennett, "Support group meeting tomorrow. Other survivors want to meet you." I thought about Dolly in her prison cell, probably already finding new ways to manipulate those around her. About Mark, finally facing his own wounds and weaknesses. About Charlie, growing up knowing the difference between love and control. The garden needed more work. Some plants were still struggling, others showing surprising resilience. Like family. Like healing. Like truth. I texted back, "I'll be there." Then I pulled one last weed, its roots deep but not unbreakable. Above me, stars pierced the darkness, countless points of light, each one a reminder that even the darkest nights eventually yield to dawn. Charlie's nightlight glowed in his window, a beacon calling me back inside. To him. To our home. To the life we were rebuilding, stronger now for having been tested. Not all victories look like we expect. Sometimes they're found in small moments, a child's laughter, a garden's renewal, the quiet strength of choosing your own path. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't in destroying your enemy, but in refusing to become them. I stood, brushing earth from my knees, and went to check on my son. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, its own choices. But tonight, in this moment, we were safe. We were free. And that was enough.
I never expected my world to unravel through a text message. But there it was, lighting up my phone screen during nap time in my kindergarten classroom, a photo of my husband Oliver. His arm wrapped around a woman I'd never seen before, both of them beaming at what looked like a backyard barbecue. My name is Harper, and until that moment, I thought I had the kind of marriage other people envied. The kind where you finish each other's sentences and share knowing looks across crowded rooms. The kind where trust isn't something you question. I stared at my phone until the screen went dark, then pressed the power button to look again. The message was from an unknown number, with only 3 words beneath the photo, "Thought you'd want to know." The quiet breathing of 20 sleeping 5-year-olds suddenly felt suffocating. I stepped into the hallway, my hands shaking as I called Oliver. He picked up on the 3rd ring. "Hey, babe. Everything okay?" His voice was casual, warm, the same voice that had wished me good morning over coffee just hours ago. "I got an interesting photo today," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You're in it. At what looks like a barbecue. With a woman." The pause that followed lasted exactly 2 seconds too long. "What?" "Let me see it." His tone shifted slightly, not enough to scream guilt, but enough to make my stomach clench. I forwarded the photo. Another pause. "Oh, that's nothing," he said, chuckling. "That's Sarah from the office." It was at the company picnic last month. Remember? I told you about it. He had mentioned a picnic, but he'd said he couldn't bring family because it was a team-building event. You said spouses weren't allowed. Right, well, it was complicated. Some people brought partners, others didn't. I didn't want to bother you since you had that parent-teacher conference that day. My conference had been on a Tuesday. Company picnics don't happen on Tuesdays. She seems friendly, I said, watching a group of parents gather outside my classroom for pickup time. Harper, come on. You know me better than this. We can talk about it when I get home, okay? I've got a meeting in 5. After we hung up, I went back into my classroom and started waking the kids from their naps. As I helped Tommy find his missing shoe and reminded Sophie to grab her artwork, I couldn't shake the image of Oliver's hand on that woman's waist. His fingers splayed possessively across her flowered dress. That evening, I sat at our kitchen counter, waiting. The lasagna I'd made, Oliver's favorite, had gone cold. He was 2 hours late, something about a client emergency. When he finally walked in, his tie was slightly askew, and he smelled of unfamiliar perfume. I'm sorry about earlier, he said, dropping his briefcase by the door. You shouldn't let anonymous messages get to you like that. Someone's probably just trying to cause trouble. I pushed my phone across the counter. Then why is she wearing your mother's bracelet? Oliver froze. The silver bracelet had been a family heirloom, passed down through generations of Winslow women. His mother Vivian had given it to him last Christmas, saying he should save it for the right moment. I'd assumed it was meant for me. I can explain, he started, but I was already walking toward our bedroom. Harper, wait. His footsteps followed me. It's not what you think. I turned to face him, surprised by how calm I felt. You know what's funny? I actually believe you. Because whatever I'm thinking probably isn't nearly as bad as whatever the truth is. As I closed the bedroom door between us, I heard my phone buzz with another message. This time, it wasn't a photo. Just 5 words that made my blood run cold, there's more. Do you want proof? I looked at the closed door, listening to Oliver's retreating footsteps, and typed back a single word, yes. Moving into Vivian's house felt like stepping into a museum where I wasn't allowed to touch anything. Every surface gleamed with generations of Winslow family history, from the antique mirrors to the crystal doorknobs that caught the morning light. Oliver had insisted we move in to help his mother, but I knew better. After the photo incident 3 weeks ago, he wanted me where he could keep an eye on me. Those shoes need to stay in the mudroom, Vivian said as I stepped into the kitchen. She didn't look up from her crossword puzzle, but her pen stopped moving. We don't wear outdoor footwear on the hardwood. I bit back a response about how I'd been wearing these same flats inside our apartment for months, and silently patted back to remove them. When I returned, Vivian was measuring coffee beans with the precision of a chemist. Oliver tells me you're still teaching at that public school, she said. Her voice carrying the same tone someone might use to discuss a questionable life choice. Such a shame. The private academy where Riley teaches has an opening in their kindergarten program. I love my school, I replied, reaching for a coffee mug. Vivian's hand shot out, stopping me. Not that one. It's Oliver's father's. She pulled down a plain white mug instead. This will do. The front door opened, and Riley's voice carried through the house. Mother? You won't believe what Oliver just told me. My stomach clenched. Riley appeared in the doorway, her designer outfit somehow unwrinkled despite the humid morning. Her smile flickered when she saw me. Oh. Harper. Didn't know you'd be home. It's Saturday, I said. Right. Riley perched on a bar stool, shooting meaningful glances at her mother. Should we discuss this later? Discuss what? I asked, stirring cream into my coffee. Vivian folded her newspaper with deliberate slowness. Oliver's been offered a promotion. Regional manager position. That's wonderful, I said, waiting for the other shoe to drop. In Chicago, Riley added, watching my face. Starting next month. The coffee suddenly tasted bitter. He hasn't mentioned anything about Chicago. Well, Riley drawled, he's been quite busy with the transition. Lots of meetings, planning sessions. Sarah from HR has been helping him house hunt. Sarah. The woman from the photo. My hand tightened around the mug. Speaking of Oliver, Vivian interjected, he left his briefcase in my study again. Harper, would you be a dear and take it up to your room? I recognized the dismissal for what it was. As I climbed the stairs, I heard Riley's voice drop to a conspiratorial whisper. I paused, listening. Can't believe he's still pretending everything's normal. That girl is practically living in the Chicago apartment already. Lower your voice, Vivian hissed. We agreed to let Oliver handle this his way. I continued up the stairs, my footsteps masked by the sudden pounding in my ears. In the study, Oliver's briefcase sat next to Vivian's antique desk. My fingers hovered over the brass clasps. We'd never kept secrets before the photo, but now. The clasps clicked open easily. Inside, beneath a stack of contracts, I found a folder labeled Chicago Relocation. My hands shook as I opened it. There were apartment listings, school recommendations, and a partially completed lease agreement. The applicants' names made my vision blur: Oliver Winslow and Sarah Mitchell. Looking for something? I spun around. Oliver stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. Behind him, I could see Riley hovering in the hallway, her smile sharp with satisfaction. When were you going to tell me about Chicago? I asked, holding up the folder. I was waiting for the right time. He stepped into the room, closing the door on Riley's eager face. This isn't how I wanted you to find out. Find out what, exactly? That you're moving to Chicago, or that you're moving there with Sarah? Oliver's face hardened. You've been going through my things. And you've been going through our marriage like it's something you can just pack up and leave behind. He reached for the folder, but I pulled it back. Harper, don't make this difficult. Difficult? I laughed, and the sound surprised us both. I'm just getting started. The bank statement arrived on a Tuesday, mixed in with Vivian's usual mail. I wouldn't have noticed it if I hadn't been helping her sort through the pile while she rested. Fighting off what she called just a touch of flu. The envelope was addressed to Oliver. But the account number caught my eye, it didn't match any of ours. This must be a mistake, I said, showing Vivian the statement. The address is for an apartment complex downtown. Vivian's pale face turned a shade whiter. She snatched the paper from my hands, her reading glasses sliding down her nose as she scanned the document. Where did you get this? It was in your mail. I watched her hands tremble. Vivian, what's wrong? She closed her eyes, pressing her fingers to her temples. That foolish boy. What boy? Oliver? The rent payments, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. They're coming from my personal account. The room seemed to tilt sideways. You're paying for an apartment? Not intentionally. Vivian's laugh was bitter. Oliver must have accessed my accounts when he became my financial advisor last year. I trusted him to manage my investments, not. She trailed off, staring at the statement. I pulled out my phone and searched the address. The complex was upscale, with a rooftop pool and concierge service. The kind of place that would appeal to someone like Sarah from HR. I need to see it, I said. Harper, no. Vivian struggled to sit up straighter. Let me handle this. You can barely get out of bed right now. I was already grabbing my keys. Besides, I think we both know what I'm going to find there. The drive downtown felt surreal. I kept thinking about Oliver's late nights at the office, his mysterious Chicago plans. The way Riley had smirked when I found those relocation papers. Everything was connecting like a constellation of betrayal, each star burning brighter than the last. The concierge didn't even blink when I said I was Sarah Mitchell. "Welcome back, Miss Mitchell. Mr. Winslow left a package for you this morning." My hands were steady as I took the key he offered. The elevator ride to the 12th floor gave me time to notice small details, the designer handbag I'd borrowed from Riley to look the part. The wedding ring I'd deliberately left at home. The apartment door opened silently. Inside, everything was modern and pristine, the opposite of Vivian's traditional home. Photos lined the entryway wall, Oliver and Sarah at various events, looking happy and in love. In one, she wore my mother-in-law's silver bracelet while they posed in front of a Christmas tree. My phone buzzed. A text from Vivian, "Did you find what you were looking for?" Before I could respond, I heard keys in the lock. I ducked into the bedroom just as the door opened, expecting Oliver or Sarah. Instead, Riley's voice carried through the apartment. "I'm telling you, she knows something," Riley was saying to someone. "That little teacher act isn't fooling anyone anymore." "Keep your voice down," Oliver replied. "The neighbors." "Oh please, everyone here thinks this is your love nest with Sarah anyway. Nobody knows you're using it to hide mother's money." I pressed my hand against my mouth to stay quiet. "It's not hiding," Oliver said. "It's protecting our inheritance. You've seen how close Harper's getting to mother. If we don't secure the assets now, then your wife might actually convince mother to leave her something?" Riley's laugh was sharp. "God, you really know how to pick them. First Sarah helps you set up this little scheme, and now Harper's playing nurse to our mother like some kind of saint." "Just stick to the plan," Oliver said. "Once I'm settled in Chicago with Sarah, you can." My phone chose that moment to buzz again, loud against the bedroom's wooden dresser. The conversation in the other room stopped abruptly. "Did you hear that?" Riley asked. I looked around frantically, but there was only one way out. As footsteps approached the bedroom, I opened my camera app and started recording. If they wanted to catch me in the act, I'd make sure to return the favor. The doorknob turned slowly, and I squared my shoulders. Time to show the Winslows what a kindergarten teacher could really do. The video of Oliver and Riley's conversation spread across Vivian's antique desk like a confession. I'd watched it 17 times since yesterday, each viewing revealing new layers of betrayal. Vivian sat beside me, her face a mask of controlled fury as she reviewed the financial documents I'd gathered from the apartment. $2 million, she said, her voice eerily calm. Transferred in small amounts over 8 months. She looked up at me. "You're being remarkably composed about all this." I was anything but composed. My hands hadn't stopped shaking since I'd escaped the apartment through the fire escape, Oliver and Riley's voices echoing behind me. But something had shifted inside me during that climb down. Fear had hardened into something else. "I'm not leaving," I said. Vivian raised an eyebrow. Most women would be halfway to a divorce lawyer by now. That's exactly what they want. I closed my laptop. They're counting on me running away, making it easy for them to write me off as the bitter ex-wife while they split your money between them. The doorbell rang, and we both tensed. Through the window, I caught a glimpse of Riley's expensive car in the driveway. "Let me handle this," Vivian said, but I was already heading for the door. Riley's smile faltered when she saw me. "Harper? I thought you'd be at school." "Parent-teacher conferences," I said, stepping aside to let her in. "I took the day off." "How convenient." She brushed past me, then stopped short at the sight of the papers spread across the desk. "Mother, what's all this?" "Just reviewing some financial documents," Vivian said. Harper's been helping me make sense of them. Riley's laugh was sharp. Since when does a kindergarten teacher understand corporate finances? Since I started recording conversations about hiding money in secret apartments, I replied. The color drained from Riley's face. Behind her, I heard the front door open again. Oliver's footsteps in the hallway, then his voice, Riley? Your car's outside. I thought we agreed to. He appeared in the doorway, freezing when he saw us all gathered around the evidence of his betrayal. Perfect timing, Vivian said. We were just discussing your creative accounting methods. Oliver's eyes darted between us, settling on me. Harper, whatever you think you heard. Save it. I pulled out my phone. Would you like to watch the video? Or should we skip straight to the part where you explain why you're stealing from your mother? It's not stealing, Riley interjected. We're protecting our inheritance from me? I turned to face her. The gold-digging kindergarten teacher who's been taking care of your mother while you two plot to rob her blind. Enough. Vivian's voice cut through the tension. Oliver, Riley, sit down. Harper, would you make us some tea? I hesitated, but there was something in Vivian's expression that made me comply. In the kitchen, I could hear their voices rising and falling, though the words were unclear. When I returned with the tea tray, Oliver was leaning forward, his head in his hands. Harper, he said, looking up. I can explain everything. Can you explain Sarah? I set the tray down carefully. Or Chicago. Or why you gave her your mother's bracelet. The bracelet was my idea, Riley said quietly. We needed her to trust him. The casual cruelty of it struck me speechless. Vivian reached for her tea with trembling hands. I've made a decision, she announced. About my estate. Oliver straightened. Mother, you don't need to. I'm changing my will. Vivian's eyes met mine. And I'd like Harper to help me manage my affairs from now on. The silence that followed was deafening. Riley's face contorted with rage, but before she could speak, my phone buzzed with a new message. Another anonymous text. Check the safe in the apartment's master closet. The combination is Sarah's birthday, May 17, 89. What you'll find there will change everything. I looked up to find Oliver watching me, his face pale. He'd seen the message reflected in my reading glasses, and for the first time since this began, I saw real fear in his eyes. Vivian's cough echoed through the empty house at 3 a.m, sharp and wet like breaking glass. I found her in the bathroom, clutching the sink, her nightgown spotted with blood. Don't tell Oliver, she wheezed as I helped her back to bed. He'll just send me to that awful hospital again. You need a doctor, I insisted, but she gripped my wrist with surprising strength. What I need is time. Her eyes, usually sharp with criticism, were fever-bright and desperate. There are things you need to know, Harper. Things I should have told you weeks ago. Before she could continue, my phone lit up with Oliver's name. He'd been in Chicago for 5 days, supposedly finalizing his transfer. I let it ring. He's not coming back, is he? I asked. Vivian's laugh turned into another coughing fit. Not unless he runs out of money first. She pulled a key from beneath her pillow. My private safe, in the library. Behind the portrait of his father. Everything you need to know is there. The portrait watched me as I entered the library, Oliver's father's stern face illuminated by moonlight. Behind it, the safe opened with a soft click. Inside, I found decades of documentation, bank statements, property deeds, and a manila envelope marked Sarah Mitchell, background check. My hands trembled as I opened it. Sarah Mitchell had died 15 years ago, a teenage car accident in Ohio. The woman in the photos with Oliver, the one wearing Vivian's bracelet, was using a dead girl's identity. A floorboard creaked behind me. I wondered when Mother would show you. Riley stood in the doorway, still wearing her designer work clothes despite the hour. Though I thought she'd last longer than this. What did you do to her? Me? Riley's laugh was hollow. I'm not the one who's been adjusting her medication. The implications hit me like a physical blow. Oliver wouldn't. Oliver does what needs to be done. She stepped closer, examining her manicured nails. Just like he did with Father's accident. Though that was messy, stairs are so unpredictable at that age. My phone buzzed again. Another text from the anonymous number, check the medicine cabinet. Third bottle from the left. Riley saw my expression change. Let me guess, your mysterious friend is texting again? The one who's been feeding you breadcrumbs about Oliver? Her smile turned predatory. Did you ever wonder why they care so much about exposing my brother? Because what you're doing is wrong. What we're doing is surviving. Riley moved between me and the door. The Winslow fortune belongs to real Winslows, not some kindergarten teacher playing detective. Though I have to admit, you've lasted longer than we expected. A crash from upstairs made us both jump. Vivian's voice, weak but urgent, Harper. I tried to push past Riley, but she grabbed my arm. She's fine. Probably just knocked something over in her drug-addled state. We should talk about your options. My options? Leave now, divorce Oliver quietly, and we'll make sure you're comfortable. Stay, and... She shrugged. Well, accidents happen in this family. Another crash, followed by silence. That's your choice, Harper. Riley's grip tightened. Walk away or join the body count. I thought about Oliver's father, about Sarah Mitchell, about Vivian upstairs possibly dying while I stood here. Then I thought about my kindergarten classroom, where I taught children that bullies only win if you let them. You're right, I said softly. Accidents do happen. I swung the heavy manila envelope at her face. As she stumbled, I bolted past her, taking the stairs two at a time. Behind me, Riley's heels clicked on the hardwood, her threats echoing off the walls. Vivian's bedroom door was locked. Inside, I could hear labored breathing. Harper! Riley called, her voice sickly sweet. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. My phone buzzed one final time, remember the video. Use it. And suddenly I knew exactly what to do. I pulled out my phone and started a live stream, making sure to capture Riley's approach, the locked door, everything. Hello, Internet, I said clearly. Let me tell you about the Winslow family and what really happened to Oliver's father. The live stream had reached 10,000 viewers by the time Oliver burst through the front door. My phone battery was at 12% and Vivian's breathing had grown dangerously shallow behind the locked door. Harper! Oliver's voice carried up the stairs. Turn off the stream. Now. Or what? I kept my voice steady for the camera. You'll arrange another accident? Like you did with your father? Riley's face had gone chalk white when I'd started revealing family secrets. Now she stood at the top of the stairs, blocking Oliver's approach. Brother dear, she has evidence. From the safe. Oliver's footsteps stopped. What safe? Don't play dumb, I said, angling my phone to capture his reaction. Vivian showed me everything, the real Sarah Mitchell's death certificate, your father's accident report, the doctored financial records. A wet cough from behind the door made my heart skip. I needed to get to Vivian, but I couldn't risk turning my back on either sibling. 7% battery, I announced to my viewers. If this stream cuts out, you all know why. Oliver reached the landing, his usual polished appearance disheveled. You don't understand what you're doing. I understand perfectly. You killed your father for his money, then started slowly poisoning your mother when she discovered the truth. The only thing I don't get is why Sarah, the real Sarah, had to die. She didn't. A new voice joined us. A familiar one. I turned to see Jenna, my best friend, standing at the bottom of the stairs. She held up her phone, showing the anonymous number that had been feeding me information. The real Sarah Mitchell didn't die in that crash, Jenna said. She just disappeared. Didn't you, Riley? Riley's composure cracked. How did you figure it out? That you stole a dead girl's identity to help your brother embezzle millions? That you've been playing both sides? Pretending to be Oliver's mistress while helping him drain your mother's accounts? Jenna climbed the stairs slowly. I'm a private investigator, Riley. Vivian hired me 6 months ago. My phone beeped, 5%. Harper, Oliver's voice turned gentle, reasonable, the same tone he'd used to explain away the first photo. Think about what you're risking. We could have given you everything you wanted. What I wanted? I laughed, and the sound echoed through the silent house. I wanted a husband who loved me. A family I could trust. Instead, I got a murderer and his sociopath sister. A thud from Vivian's room made us all jump. She's dying in there, Riley said quietly. Are you going to let that happen while you play detective? The police are already on their way, Jenna called from below. Along with an ambulance. Your mother's doctor has been recording the gradual changes to her medication. Every prescription, every refill, every adjustment you made, it's all documented. Oliver moved faster than I expected. His hand caught my wrist, twisting until my phone clattered to the floor. But the screen stayed lit, still streaming, still recording as he pushed me against the wall. You could have had everything, he hissed. Instead, you'll leave with nothing. Just like your father did? Vivian's voice, weak but clear, came through the door. When you pushed him down these same stairs? The bedroom door swung open. Vivian stood there, pale but upright, holding an empty pill bottle in one trembling hand. Mother? Riley stepped forward. How did you survive the poison? Vivian's smile was fierce. I stopped taking the pills weeks ago when Jenna confirmed what they contained. I needed proof, and you two provided it beautifully. She looked at me, her eyes soft. I'm sorry we had to deceive you too, Harper. But we needed their true colors on camera. My phone screen finally went dark, but it didn't matter. The damage was done. Below, police sirens wailed in the distance. Oliver's grip on my wrist tightened. If I'm going down, he whispered, you're coming with me. He yanked me toward the stairs, but I was done being a victim. I'd taught my kindergartners about standing up to bullies. Time to follow my own lesson plan. The staircase loomed behind me as Oliver's grip tightened. One push, that's all it would take. Just like his father. The irony wasn't lost on me. You really want to do this? I kept my voice steady, buying time as police sirens grew closer. In front of all those live stream viewers? The stream ended, Oliver snarled. Your phone died. Did it? Jenna's voice carried from below. Check your notifications, Oliver. I've been mirroring Harper's stream to my account since she started. We're still live. His momentary hesitation was all I needed. Years of breaking up playground fights had taught me more than just conflict resolution. I twisted sharply, using his own momentum against him. Oliver stumbled, his grip loosening. Harper, catch! Vivian's voice rang out as something small and metallic arced through the air, her silver bracelet. The one Sarah/Riley had worn in that first photo. I snatched it with my free hand. That's mine, Riley lunged forward, but Vivian blocked her path. No, it's not, Vivian said. Nothing here was ever yours. The real Sarah Mitchell's parents confirmed that last week. Riley's composure shattered. You talked to them? They're very interested in meeting the woman who stole their dead daughter's identity. Jenna was climbing the stairs now, phone steady in her hand. They're waiting at the police station. Oliver's grip suddenly released. He stumbled back, laughing, a hollow, broken sound. You don't understand. None of you understand. Father was going to destroy everything, sell the company, donate the fortune to charity. We had to stop him. By pushing him down the stairs? I clutched the bracelet tightly. By slowly poisoning your mother? By protecting our legacy. Riley's voice cracked. We're Winslows. This fortune belongs to us. No, Vivian stepped forward, her strength returning with each word. It belongs to someone who understands what legacy really means. That's why I changed my will last month. The front door burst open downstairs. Police officers flooded in, their footsteps thundering up the stairs. You didn't, Riley whispered. I did. Vivian turned to me. Harper, that bracelet you're holding, it's more than just jewelry. The holoband contains a micro SD card with copies of everything, bank records, medical reports, security footage from the night their father died. I've been collecting evidence for months, ever since I first suspected what they'd done. Oliver lunged at me one final time, but Jenna was faster. She caught his arm, twisting it behind his back as officers reached the landing. Oliver and Riley Winslow, Jenna's voice was professionally calm. You're under arrest for the murder of James Winslow, attempted murder of Vivian Winslow, identity theft, and financial fraud. Did I miss anything, Harper? I watched as handcuffs clicked around Oliver's wrists, my husband, the man I'd loved, now a stranger wearing a familiar face. Just one thing. The bracelet. What about it? Riley spat as officers secured her. I held it up, letting it catch the light. Your father gave this to your mother on their wedding day. It was supposed to represent trust, family, legacy. Instead, you used it to orchestrate his murder. Poetic justice, Vivian said softly, taking the bracelet from my hands. That had helped bring down the people who betrayed everything it stood for. As the police led Oliver and Riley away, I noticed something odd about Oliver's expression. Not anger or defeat, but satisfaction? Check his phone, I called to the officers. And Riley's. There's something we're missing. Jenna was already moving, her investigator's instincts kicking in. She grabbed Oliver's phone from his pocket before the officers could stop her. His last text message was still open. Everything in place. When the house burns, no evidence survives. The smell of smoke reached us just as the fire alarms began to scream. They had a backup plan, I realized. They always had a backup plan. Vivian gripped my arm. The safe. Everything's still in there. I looked at the spreading smoke, then at Jenna's still streaming phone. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about saving what they tried to burn. I'm going back, I said, and ran toward the library before anyone could stop me. 6 months after the fire, I stood in my kindergarten classroom, hanging student artwork on freshly painted walls. The morning news played quietly on my phone, Oliver and Riley Winslow sentenced in family fraud case. I didn't need to watch. I'd been there when the verdict came down. The evidence we'd saved from the burning house had sealed their fate, though not in the way anyone expected. The safe had contained more than just documents, it held a video confession from Oliver's father, recorded the night before his death. He'd known what his children were planning. The stairs weren't an accident, they were his choice. Still here after hours? Vivian appeared in my doorway, looking healthier than she had in years. The contractors finished the house renovations. It feels empty without you there. I pinned up Sophie's finger-painted family portrait. I like my apartment. It's simpler. Simple isn't always better. She moved beside me, studying the children's artwork. Have you read the letter yet? The envelope she'd given me last week sat unopened in my desk drawer. Not ready. Harper. Her voice carried the same stern tone she'd once used to criticize my shoes. You can't avoid it forever. I pulled out the envelope. The paper was expensive, heavy, classic Vivian. Inside, I found adoption papers. I don't understand. I lost my children long before that fire, Vivian said quietly. But I gained a daughter through it. The Winslow legacy doesn't need to die with Oliver's betrayal. I'm not a Winslow. No. She smiled. You're better. You're the one who saved us from ourselves. My phone buzzed, Jenna, sending her daily check-in. She'd finally admitted to being the anonymous texter, though not without justification. I knew you'd need evidence, she'd explained. But you had to find it yourself to believe it. The company board meets next week, Vivian continued. They'll need a new director of community outreach. Someone who understands both education and family values. I thought about Oliver, about how his fear of losing the family fortune had cost him his actual family. About Riley, whose desperate grab for status had earned her a different kind of identity change. About revenge, and how it tasted nothing like I'd expected. I have one condition, I said. Name it. The company's first project under new management, I want to fund teacher training programs. Real ones, not just corporate tax write-offs. Vivian's laugh echoed through the classroom. You never stop teaching, do you? Someone once told me the best revenge is living well. I picked up a crayon drawing from my desk, little Tommy's picture of his teacher helping him tie his shoes. But I think the best revenge is helping others live better. Speaking of help. Vivian hesitated. Oliver asked to see you. One last time before they transfer him. The old pain flickered, but it felt distant now, like watching storm clouds through a window. What did you tell him? That it was your choice. Just like everything else from now on. I looked around my classroom at the tiny chairs and bright posters. At the safe space I'd created where children learned about trust and consequences. Then I thought about the man who'd taught me the same lessons, albeit differently. Tell him I'm busy, I said. I have a future to build. Vivian nodded, understanding what I didn't say. Sometimes closure isn't about final conversations or dramatic confrontations. Sometimes it's about choosing which stories to continue and which to leave behind. As we left the classroom, I caught my reflection in the window, still the same kindergarten teacher, but standing straighter now. The silver bracelet glinted on my wrist, no longer a symbol of betrayal but of survival. Ready? Vivian asked. I locked the classroom door, thinking about tomorrow's lesson plan on forgiveness and fresh starts. I am now. The adoption papers felt warm in my pocket, like a promise. Not of revenge fulfilled, but of something better, a family rebuilt from truth rather than lies, strength rather than fear. And maybe that was the biggest plot twist of all, that sometimes the best endings aren't about getting even, but about getting free.
I never thought I'd find evidence of my sister's betrayal while cleaning out Dad's study. But there it was, tucked between old tax returns and forgotten birthday cards. A letter that would shatter everything I thought I knew about my family. My name is Avery, and until last Sunday, I was just another landscape architect trying to launch her own business. Now I'm someone who has to decide what to do about a sister who's actively trying to destroy everything I've worked for. The letter was in Mia's familiar loopy handwriting, dated just 3 weeks ago. I know you're worried about me, Dad, it read. But I promise this will work. Avery's too trusting. She won't see it coming. Once her business falls apart, she'll finally understand what it feels like to fail at something. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit down in Dad's old leather chair. The musty smell of his cigar still lingered, even though he'd quit smoking months ago. Outside his study window, I could see Mom preparing for Dad's birthday dinner.
arranging flowers in the garden like everything was normal. Like my sister wasn't plotting to ruin me. My phone buzzed. Speak of the devil. Hey sis. Mia's voice was honey sweet. You're coming to Dad's birthday dinner tonight, right? Ethan said you might be working late. I gripped the letter tighter, my wedding ring catching the afternoon light. No, I'll be there. Wouldn't miss it. Great. I have some exciting news to share with everyone. Of course she did. Mia always had exciting news at family gatherings. It was her way of making sure all eyes were on her. Can't wait to hear it. I managed, trying to keep my voice steady. Hey, have you talked to Dad recently about business stuff? There was the slightest pause. Not really. You know how Dad is, all work and no play. Why? Just curious. See you tonight. I hung up before she could ask more questions. My husband Ethan's name in her message bothered me. They'd been talking about my work schedule. Jamie, my best friend since college, called while I was still sitting in Dad's study. You okay? She asked. You sound off. I found something concerning. Can you meet for coffee tomorrow? I need your perspective on this. Of course. Is it about the business launch? I looked down at the letter again. Sort of. It's about Mia. And possibly Ethan. Oh boy, Jamie sighed. What's your sister done now? I'm not sure yet. But I need to get through Dad's birthday dinner first. Everyone will be there. Acting like one big happy family. Want me to create an emergency and call you out of it? I almost said yes. But running away wouldn't solve anything. No, I need to see how they act. Especially Mia and Ethan. Something's not right. After hanging up, I carefully refolded the letter and slipped it into my purse. Through the window I could see cars starting to arrive. Mia's red sports car pulled up first. Always early when she had exciting news to share. I watched her step out, all designer clothes and perfect hair, air-kissing Mom in the garden. She was already commanding attention, gesturing animatedly about something while Mom nodded along, completely enchanted. Just like always, Ethan's car pulled in next. He got out and immediately went to hug Mia, their greeting looking a little too familiar for my comfort. They shared a quick look before separating, the kind of look that made my stomach turn. I stood up, straightening my clothes and taking a deep breath. Time to go downstairs and play my part in this family charade. But this time I'd be watching. Really watching. Because now I knew, the sister who'd always claimed to be my biggest supporter was actually plotting my downfall. And somehow my husband was involved. The question was, how far would they go? And more importantly, what was I going to do about it? Dad's birthday dinner was a masterclass in fake smiles and hidden daggers. I kept the letter burning a hole in my purse while Mia commanded center stage, announcing her exciting news. She was starting her own event planning business. And guess who's already signed up as my first major client? Mia beamed, reaching for her wine glass. The Hendersons. You know, the family who owns that gorgeous estate where Avery's doing the landscaping. My fork clattered against my plate. The Hendersons were my biggest potential clients, the ones who could make or break my new business. I hadn't even finished presenting my final design proposal to them yet. That's wonderful, I managed, feeling Ethan's hand squeeze my knee under the table. Was it meant to be reassuring or warning? Oh honey, Mom gushed. 2 successful daughters in complementary businesses. You girls could work together. Mia's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Actually, I already suggested that to the Hendersons. They're thinking of going in a different direction with their landscaping. Something more modern. Dad looked up from his plate. Avery's designs are plenty modern. Of course they are. Mia backpedaled smoothly. I just meant they're considering all their options. You understand, right sis? It's just business. Just business. Like the letter in my purse was just paper. Speaking of business, I said, watching her carefully, I was organizing Dad's study earlier and found some interesting correspondence. Mia's smile flickered for just a second. Oh, anything about me? Actually, I started, but Ethan suddenly stood up, drawing everyone's attention. Before we get into business talk, I'd like to propose a toast to George, he announced, raising his glass. To the man who welcomed me into this amazing family. I watched Mia during his speech. She was staring at her plate, her fingers nervously shredding her napkin. When she looked up, our eyes met, and for a moment, I saw something I hadn't expected: fear. After dinner, I cornered her in the kitchen while she was helping with dishes by reorganizing Mom's wine glasses. "The Hendersons were my clients first," I said quietly. "Were they? I don't see any contracts." She arranged the glasses with precise movements. "Maybe if you spent less time organizing Dad's study and more time closing deals." "I found your letter, Mia." The wine glass in her hand trembled slightly. "What letter?" "The one where you told Dad how you're planning to destroy my business. Want me to read it to everyone?" She set the glass down carefully. "You always do this, Avery. Turn everything into some kind of competition. I'm finally doing something successful with my life, and you can't stand it." "That's not..." "Mom!" Mia called out, her voice cracking. "Avery's threatening me because I got a client she wanted." Mom rushed in, finding Mia with tears in her eyes. Perfect, glistening tears that hadn't smudged her mascara. "Avery Thompson," Mom scolded. "I raised you better than this. Your sister is trying to build something of her own. Why can't you support her?" "But she..." I stopped, realizing how it would sound. "I'm the responsible one, the steady one. Mia's the free spirit everyone needs to protect and encourage. Nothing had changed since we were kids." "I think you should apologize to your sister," Mom said firmly. Over Mom's shoulder, Mia's tears vanished, replaced by a small, triumphant smile. "You're right," I said, my voice steady. "I'm sorry, Mia. I shouldn't have jumped to conclusions about that letter." Mia's smile faltered. "What letter?" "The one I'll be showing Dad tomorrow. Sleep well, sis." I left them in the kitchen, passing Ethan in the hallway. He reached for my arm, but I pulled away. "We need to talk," he said quietly. "Yes, we do." I met his eyes. "About why you've been discussing my work schedule with my sister." He opened his mouth to respond, but Dad called him into the living room. As he walked away, I saw him pull out his phone and type something quickly. In my car, my phone buzzed with a text from Mia. "Don't make this worse than it needs to be." I started the engine, my hand steady on the wheel. Tomorrow I'd meet Jamie for coffee and figure out exactly how deep this betrayal went. But tonight I had some research to do about the Hendersons, and about my husband's recent phone records. Jamie set her coffee cup down with enough force to make the table rattle. "You're not going to believe what I found about your sister." We were sitting in our usual corner of the bean house, away from the morning rush. I'd barely slept, spending most of the night digging through Ethan's phone records while he slept soundly beside me, completely unaware. "Hit me," I said, bracing myself. "Mia's broke. Like seriously broke. She's got credit card debt in the six figures, and there's a collection agency after her for an unpaid business loan from last year." My stomach dropped. "What business loan?" "For her fashion consulting venture that lasted all of 3 months." Jamie pulled out her tablet, showing me the documents. "But here's the kicker, guess who co-signed that loan?" "Please don't say." "Ethan. Your husband co-signed a $100,000 loan for your sister 6 months ago." The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. 6 months ago, when Ethan had insisted we delay buying the commercial property I wanted for my landscape design business, claiming the market wasn't right. My phone buzzed, Mrs. Henderson's name flashing on the screen. I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "Avery, dear," she said, her tone apologetic. "I wanted to speak with you directly about the garden redesign." "Of course. I'm finalizing the proposals now." "That's just it. Your sister showed us some remarkable concepts yesterday. She suggested integrating the garden design with her event planning services, offering us a complete package deal." My free hand clenched around my coffee cup. "Mrs. Henderson, I should mention that Mia has no experience in landscape architecture." "Oh, she mentioned that. But she's bringing in someone from Carson and Reed Landscaping as her partner. They're very well established." Carson and Reed, my former employers. The same company where Ethan still consulted part-time. After the call ended, Jamie reached across the table and grabbed my hand. "Avery, breathe. They're working together," I said, the pieces finally clicking. "Ethan's been feeding Mia information about my clients, my designs, everything. That's why he insisted on handling all our business contacts." "There's more," Jamie said quietly. "I found some interesting deposits in Mia's bank records. Regular payments from a shell company. Guess who owns it?" Before she could answer, my phone lit up with a text from Ethan. Where are you? We need to talk about the Henderson project. Another message followed immediately, this one from Mia. Got a minute? I have a business proposition for you. They're panicking, Jamie observed. You've got them worried. I stood up, gathering my things. I need to go to the office. The Henderson designs are on my work computer, and I need to secure them before your husband can access them? Jamie finished. I'll drive. You're shaking too much. We arrived at my small office suite 15 minutes later, but something was wrong. The door was already unlocked. Inside, Mia sat at my desk, her perfectly manicured fingers flying over my keyboard. She looked up, startled, but quickly recovered with a practiced smile. Oh good, you're here. I was just leaving you a note. She stood smoothly, but I saw her slip a USB drive into her pocket. Step away from my computer, Mia. Don't be dramatic. I'm trying to help you. She moved toward the door, but Jamie blocked her path. The Hendersons were never going to choose your designs anyway. Safe. Like you. Is that what you tell yourself to justify stealing from me? Stealing. She laughed, but there was an edge to it. I'm surviving. Something you've never had to worry about. Perfect Avery with her perfect plans. And the $100,000 Ethan helped you borrow? Was that survival too? Her face paled slightly. He told you. No, he didn't. Just like he didn't tell me he's been helping you poach my clients. Tell me, Mia, what do you have on my husband? She reached for the door handle but turned back with a smile that chilled me. Why don't you ask him about last year's company retreat? I'm sure he'd love to explain everything. After she left, Jamie and I discovered she'd already emailed herself copies of all my design files. But as I stared at the computer screen, I realized something worse. She'd accessed my client list, my vendor contracts, everything. What now? Jamie asked. I opened my phone and dialed my father's number. Now we find out what really happened at that company retreat. Dad met me at his favorite diner, the one where he'd taught me and Mia to count change using the sugar packets. It felt different now, sitting across from him with a manila folder full of bank statements and phone records between us. The company retreat, he said, stirring his coffee. I remember because Ethan came back early. Said there was some kind of emergency. Did Mia happen to be there? His hand stilled on the spoon. She wasn't supposed to be. It was employees only. But I heard from Bill Carson that she showed up uninvited. Created quite a scene at the hotel bar. He looked up at me. You think something happened between them? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a text from Jamie. Found security footage from your office. You need to see this now. I have to go, I told Dad, gathering my things. But first, did you know about the loan? The one Ethan co-signed for Mia. Dad's face darkened. He did what? That's what I thought. I stood up then paused. Dad? When you found Mia's letter about ruining my business, why didn't you tell me? What letter? The diner's fluorescent lights suddenly felt too bright. The letter in your study. The one where she outlined her whole plan. Avery, I never saw any letter. My hand started shaking. But it was in your desk drawer. I found it while cleaning. The drawer that's always locked? He shook his head. The one only Ethan has access to because he handles the company's old files? The world tilted sideways. I barely made it to Jamie's office, where she was waiting with her laptop. Watch this, she said, pulling up the security footage from my office building. Look at the timestamp. 3 days before Mia showed up at your computer. The grainy video showed Ethan entering my office late at night, using his key. He spent 20 minutes at my computer before leaving with what looked like a stack of files. There's more, Jamie said quietly. Remember that shell company making payments to Mia? It's registered to a property in the Cayman Islands. Guess who flew there last month? Ethan had a business trip. With Mia. I found their flight records. She hesitated. And hotel reservation. Single room. My wedding ring felt like it was burning my finger. The company retreat last year. That's when it started, wasn't it? Probably. But Avery, we need to talk about the money. Those payments to Mia? They're coming from your business account. My phone buzzed. Ethan again. Where are you? We need to talk about what Mia told you. It's not what you think. Another message followed immediately from Mia. He's freaking out. Maybe we should discuss terms. I turned off my phone. Jamie, I need your help with something. Anything. I need to access Ethan's cloud storage. The one where he keeps all the business documents. She raised an eyebrow. The one he specifically told you never to worry about, because he had everything under control? That's the one. It took Jamie less than an hour to crack it. What we found made me glad I was sitting down. He's been planning this for months, Jamie said, scrolling through documents. Using your designs to secure contracts, then having them transferred to Carson and Reed through Mia's event planning business. The Hendersons aren't the first, they're just the biggest score yet. I stared at the screen, at the careful paper trail of my husband systematically dismantling everything I'd built. All this time, I thought Mia was the mastermind. She's definitely involved, but Ethan. Jamie trailed off, opening another file. Oh God. What? Look at the date on this incorporation document for the shell company. It's from 2 weeks before your wedding. My phone started buzzing again, Mom this time. I let it go to voicemail, already knowing what she'd say. How I needed to work things out with my sister, how family was everything, how I was being too suspicious. Jamie, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I need you to help me with one more thing. What are you thinking? I pulled out my own USB drive. I'm thinking it's time to show my sister exactly what it feels like when someone takes everything you've worked for. The plan forming in my mind wasn't pretty, but then again, neither was betrayal. I didn't expect Mia to show up at my house at midnight. Mascara streaked down her face and hands trembling as she clutched her designer purse. Ethan was staying at a hotel, my choice, not his, so I was alone when I opened the door. I can explain everything, she said. Like the Cayman Islands trip with my husband? I stepped aside to let her in, noting how she scanned the room, probably looking for Ethan. That's not. It's complicated. She sank onto the couch, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Ethan said he'd help me with my debts if I helped him with some business deals. I didn't know at first that he was planning to steal my clients? Or just my designs? Both. She wiped her eyes, smearing expensive makeup across her cheek. But Avery, he's got something on me. From the company retreat. I can't. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. My phone buzzed. Jamie sending me updates about the financial records we'd found. I ignored it, watching my sister's performance. 'Cause that's what this was, wasn't it? Another act in the Mia show? What happened at the retreat, Mia? She shook her head. I can't. He'll release the video if I tell anyone. What video? Before she could answer, both our phones chimed simultaneously. A text from Ethan. Meeting tomorrow 9 a.m. Carson and Reed offices. All parties present or the deals go public. Mia's face went pale. You can't go. You don't understand what he's capable of. I think I do. The shell company, the stolen designs, the embezzled money, all of it started before my wedding. He played us both, didn't he? She looked up sharply. What do you mean? The letter I found? The one outlining your plan to ruin my business? Ethan planted it. He needed me to suspect you first, to keep me from looking too closely at what he was doing. Oh God, she whispered. The hotel video doesn't exist, does it? Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks, but these looked real. He said if I didn't help him, he'd tell everyone about the money I embezzled from Carson and Reed last year. But I never took that money. I just found out he set it up to look like I did. My phone buzzed again. Jamie had found something else. I checked the message and felt my breath catch. Mia, I said carefully. When exactly did Ethan tell you he'd release the video? Right after the retreat. Why? I showed her my phone. Screenshots Jamie had recovered from Ethan's cloud storage. Documents showing he'd been siphoning money from Carson and Reed for years, carefully structuring it to look like multiple employees were responsible, including Mia. He's been setting this up since before he met me, I said, using both of us against each other while he stripped everything bare. Mia's hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the phone. The Hendersons' contract. He made me think I was helping him save your business, that you were the one stealing designs. I'm so stupid. We both were. I took the phone back, scrolling through more documents. But tomorrow at 9 we have a chance to fix that. How? He's got everything documented to frame us both. I smiled, thinking about the USB drive Jamie and I had prepared. Not everything. Remember when we were kids, and you used to create elaborate stories to get us out of trouble? You mean when I'd confess to something bigger to distract Mom and Dad from what we actually did? A spark of the old Mia showed through her tears. What are you thinking? I'm thinking it's time for the Thompson sisters to give one hell of a performance. I pulled out my laptop. But first, we need to talk about exactly what happened at that company retreat, and why Ethan really came home early. Mia's smile turned sharp, matching mine. Where should I start? Start with the real reason you showed up at the hotel bar that night. And Mia. I met her eyes. This time, no lies between us. She nodded, straightening her shoulders. It all started when I overheard Ethan on the phone, talking about a merger that would put you out of business. The Carson and Reed conference room felt like a trap the moment I walked in. Ethan sat at the head of the table, looking perfectly composed in his expensive suit. Bill Carson stood by the window, frowning at documents spread across his desk. Mia was already there, wearing the same clothes from last night, her usual polish cracking around the edges. Glad you could join us, Ethan said, sliding a folder toward me. These are the new terms. I didn't touch it. Terms for what? Your graceful exit from the industry. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Unless you prefer we discuss your sister's creative accounting, or your own theft of proprietary designs? My designs, I corrected. Not according to these documents. He tapped the folder. Signed and dated before you ever started your business. Everything you've created belongs to Carson and Reed. Bill Carson cleared his throat. Ethan has shown me conclusive evidence that he's been stealing from your company for years? I pulled out my USB drive. Or that he's been setting up elaborate schemes to frame others for it? Ethan's smile didn't waver, but his knuckles whitened around his pen. Careful, Avery. Remember what's at stake. You mean like the video from the company retreat? Mia's voice shook slightly. The one that doesn't exist? Are you sure about that? Ethan reached for his phone. Should we play it for everyone? Go ahead, I said. Show us all how you set my sister up that night. How you plan to use her as your scapegoat while you strip the company bare. His finger hovered over the phone. Bill, I think we should call security. Actually, Jamie's voice came from the doorway. I think we should wait for the police. They're very interested in those offshore accounts you've been using. Ethan stood up so fast his chair toppled backward. This is ridiculous. Bill, these women are trying to. To what? I opened my laptop, turning it to face the room. Show how you've been embezzling money since before you met me? Or how you manufactured evidence to frame Mia when she caught on to your scheme. It's all lies, he snarled, but his composure was cracking. You have no proof. Actually, Bill Carson said quietly, we do. He pulled out another set of documents, ones I recognized from Jamie's late-night digging. The board has been investigating discrepancies for months. We just needed to know who to watch. Ethan's face went blank. He looked at each of us, me, Mia, Jamie, Bill Carson, then suddenly lunged for my laptop. If I'm going down, he growled, I'm taking everyone with me. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. Mia screaming as Ethan grabbed the laptop. Jamie rushing forward. The sound of breaking glass as the laptop went through the 10th floor window. Ethan's triumphant laugh. Good luck proving anything now, he said. I felt oddly calm as I pulled out my phone. You mean like these copies Jamie sent to every board member an hour ago? Or the ones Dad's lawyer is reviewing right now? His face contorted. You're bluffing. Like you bluffed about having video of Mia? Or about owning my designs? I stood up, fighting to keep my voice steady. The thing about growing up with a sister who lies constantly. You learn to keep receipts. You stupid bitch, he spat. And suddenly he was coming toward me, hands outstretched. Several things happened at once. Security burst through the door. Mia stepped between us, her designer purse swinging like a weapon. Jamie shouted something about cameras rolling. And I stood there, watching my husband being wrestled to the ground, realizing that my entire marriage had been a carefully orchestrated lie. Avery. Mia touched my arm gently. Are you okay? I wasn't. Nothing about this was okay. My business was in shambles, my marriage was a fraud, and my family's reputation was about to become tabloid fodder. But as I watched Ethan being led away in handcuffs, still shouting threats, I felt something unexpected: relief. No, I said honestly. I'm not okay. But I will be. Mia squeezed my hand, and for the first time in years, it felt like we were really sisters again. The Hendersons called, Jamie said softly. They want to meet with you tomorrow. Just you. I nodded, watching Bill Carson gather evidence for the police. My world had imploded, but somehow, standing in the wreckage, I felt stronger than ever. Now I just had to figure out how to rebuild from the ashes. The police interview room felt colder than it should in August. Ethan sat across from me, still wearing his expensive suit, though now it looked rumpled after a night in holding. This wasn't how I'd imagined spending my first day as a divorced woman. 5 minutes, the detective said, closing the door behind him. Ethan leaned forward, his charm switched on like a light. Avery, we can still fix this. The board doesn't have to press charges. We could start over. I placed a folder on the table. Like you started over with those other companies before Carson and Reed? His smile faltered. What are you talking about? Jamie's good at digging, Ethan. Really good. 3 companies in 5 years, each one with mysterious financial troubles right after you left. Each time someone else took the fall. You can't prove any of that. Actually, we can. Your old victims are very interested in testifying. I slid the folder toward him. But that's not why I'm here. He opened the folder, his face darkening as he read. Where did you get these? From Mia's hotel room at the company retreat. The real reason she was there that night, she was gathering evidence. She saw what you were doing months before I did. She was trying to blackmail me, he snapped. No, she was trying to protect me. But you turned it around, made her think you had something on her. Classic Ethan Collins playbook, right? Always have leverage. His handcuffs clinked against the table as he pushed the folder away. What do you want? I want to understand something. Was any of it real? Our marriage, our plans, any of it? For a moment his mask slipped, showing something almost like regret. The garden designs were brilliant. I didn't lie about that. Just about everything else. Business is business, Avery. Nothing personal. I stood up, smoothing my skirt. That's where you're wrong. It was always personal. That's why you'll never understand why you failed. Failed? He laughed harshly. I had everything perfect until your sister grew a conscience. No, you had everything perfect until you underestimated what sisters are capable of. I reached for the door. By the way, the Hendersons loved my new designs. The ones you never saw, because I kept them at Jamie's house. You're making a mistake, he called as I opened the door. I still have friends who can. Who can what? End up in here with you. Mia's voice came from the hallway. She stepped into view, holding up her phone. Everything you just said is recorded, by the way. Want to threaten us again? Ethan's face contorted with rage. You little. That's enough, the detective interrupted, moving between us. As we walked away, Mia grabbed my hand. Are you okay? Getting there. I squeezed her hand back. Thank you for trying to warn me, even when I didn't want to listen. Thank you for believing me when it mattered. She stopped, turning to face me. Avery, about everything else, the competition, the jealousy, making Mom and Dad always take my side. We don't have to do this now. Yes, we do. Her eyes filled with tears. I was so busy being jealous of your success that I almost let him destroy you. I need you to know. I know, I said softly. And we'll figure it out. One day at a time. Outside the police station, Jamie was waiting with coffee and a stack of new client contracts. Ready to get back to work? I looked at the contracts, then at my sister. Actually, I was thinking about a partnership. Someone to handle the event planning side of the business, work with clients directly. Mia's eyes widened. Are you serious? On one condition, no more lies. About anything. She nodded solemnly, then broke into a real smile. Not her usual practice charm, but something genuine. Deal. As we walked to the car, I felt lighter than I had in months. Ethan had tried to tear us apart, but instead he'd given us something we'd lost years ago. The chance to be sisters again. So, Jamie said, scrolling through her phone. Who wants to help me delete Ethan from all the wedding photos? Mia and I looked at each other and started laughing. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about moving forward, stronger than before. 6 months after Ethan's conviction, I stood in the Hendersons' completed garden, watching guests marvel at the integration of landscape and event space. Mia fluttered between groups, handling the grand opening with her usual charm, but something was different now. Her smile reached her eyes. "It's beautiful," Mom said, appearing beside me. "Both the garden and your sister's work." I nodded, noting how the evening light caught the water features we'd designed together. She's good at what she does. Always was. I'm sorry I didn't see what was happening. Mom touched my arm. With Ethan, with everything. I was so busy trying to protect Mia that I missed who really needed protection. We all missed it, Mom. That was his specialty. Across the garden, Jamie was showing Dad something on her tablet. Probably the latest financials. Our business had grown faster than expected, partly thanks to the publicity from Ethan's trial, partly because Mia and I made a surprisingly good team. "Mrs. Collins?" A server approached with a letter. "This was left for you at the entrance." "It's Thompson now," I corrected automatically, taking the envelope. I recognized Ethan's handwriting immediately. "Want me to throw it away?" Mia asked, materializing at my side. I considered it, then shook my head. "No. I need to know." The letter was short. "I underestimated you both. The garden in the prison yard is dead. But I think about your designs every day. Some things are beautiful even when they're dangerous." Trying to get the last word. Mia scoffed, reading over my shoulder. Classic Ethan. It doesn't matter anymore. I folded the letter and handed it to Jamie, who joined us. "Add it to the file?" She tucked it away with a nod. We kept everything now, every document, every message. Not out of fear or revenge, but because we'd learned the hard way that truth needs protection. "Speaking of files," Mia said hesitantly, "there's something I need to show you." She led me to a quiet corner of the garden, pulling out her phone. "Remember how we couldn't figure out where Ethan got his initial capital? Jamie found this yesterday." The document on her screen showed a familiar name, our grandmother's trust fund, which had mysteriously dried up years ago. The fund I'd been too busy to investigate when Mia was named sole beneficiary. "He helped me steal it," Mia whispered, "before he even met you." I didn't understand what he was doing then, but it was always your money too. I stared at the screen, feeling the weight of years of resentment and competition shifting into something else. "Keep it," I said finally. "Avery, no. We need to make this right." "We are making it right." I gestured at the garden around us. Every project, every client, every time we choose honesty over easy answers. That's how we make it right. She hugged me suddenly, fiercely. "When did you get so wise?" "Probably around the time you got so honest." Later, as the party wound down, I found myself back in the center of the garden. The night-blooming flowers were opening, their fragrance mixing with the sound of falling water. "Ready to go?" Jamie asked, car keys in hand. "Almost." I looked around at what we'd built, not just the garden but everything else. The business, the rebuilt relationships, the trust that grew back slowly, like plants after a hard winter. "You know," Mia said, joining us, "we got another offer today. That big resort on the coast." I saw the email. And I smiled, remembering the letter in Dad's study that had started everything. How easily suspicion had bloomed, how quickly trust had withered. "And I think we should look at it together. All of us." Jamie raised her eyebrows. "Even after everything?" "Especially after everything." I touched one of the night-blooming flowers, watching it unfold. Some things grow better in the dark, but they still need light to survive. We walked out together, leaving the garden to its evening transformation. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new projects, new chances to choose trust over fear. But tonight, in this garden we'd built from the ashes of betrayal, everything was blooming exactly as it should.
The notification from my banking app lit up my phone at exactly 2:17 p.m. on a Tuesday. I remember the time precisely because I was in the middle of a quarterly financial review meeting when my world started to crack. My name is Evie, and I used to think I had my life perfectly arranged, like the spreadsheets I spend my days analyzing. The message showed a withdrawal of $47,000 from our joint savings account. My stomach dropped as I stared at the screen, the numbers burning into my retinas while my colleague's voice faded into white noise. Evie? The Thompson account projections? I snapped my head up, meeting my supervisor's questioning gaze. Sorry, I just need to. Excuse me for a moment. I grabbed my phone and practically ran to the bathroom, my heels clicking against the marble floor in an uneven rhythm. With trembling fingers, I called Travis. It rang 6 times before going to voicemail. Of course. My husband's phone was perpetually set to silent when he was in the zone with his photography. I tried again. And again. Finally, on the 4th attempt, "Hey babe, what's up? I'm kind of in the middle of a shoot." "Travis, why is there a $47,000 withdrawal from our account?" My voice echoed off the bathroom tiles, and I lowered it to a harsh whisper. "Please tell me this is some kind of mistake." There was a pause, too long to be innocent. "Oh, that. Yeah, I was going to tell you about it tonight. It's for some new equipment I need for this huge corporate gig I landed. The client's paying double my usual rate, so we'll have it back in no time." The explanation seemed reasonable enough, but something in his tone made my skin prickle. After 8 years of marriage, I knew when Travis was feeding me half-truths. What equipment costs exactly $47,000? I pressed. "Listen, I can't really talk right now. The client's waiting. We'll discuss it over dinner, okay? Love you." He hung up before I could respond. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, noting how the fluorescent lights made me look as pale as I felt. Something wasn't adding up, and if there's one thing I can't stand, it's numbers that don't balance. Back at my desk, I couldn't focus on work. Instead of analyzing market trends, I found myself logging into our online banking portal. The withdrawal had been made in cash, at a branch across town. Travis hadn't used his card for any major photography equipment purchases recently. In fact, looking at his transaction history, there was a pattern of increasingly large withdrawals over the past few months that I'd somehow missed. When I got home that evening, the house was dark. A text from Travis said he'd be late, the shoot was running over. I sat in our home office, the blue light from his laptop casting shadows on the wall. He always left it logged in, trusting me completely. Or maybe he was just careless. I hesitated only a moment before opening his email. It felt wrong, invasive, but the nagging feeling in my gut wouldn't let go. That's when I found the folder labeled Investment Opportunities. Inside were hundreds of emails from online gambling sites, payment confirmations, and desperate messages to someone named Victor about making things right. My phone buzzed with another text from Travis, "Grab dinner with the client. Don't wait up. Tomorrow night, I promise we'll talk." I closed the laptop and walked to our bedroom, where I opened his side of the closet. Behind his carefully arranged camera equipment and the vintage leather jacket I'd given him for his birthday, I found a stack of papers stuffed into an old shoebox. Bank statements, loan applications, and at the bottom, a letter from a collection agency demanding immediate payment of $86,000. The Travis I thought I knew would never hide something like this. But then again, maybe I never really knew Travis at all. And that realization scared me more than any number on those statements. I barely slept that night, watching Travis's side of the bed remain empty until dawn. When he finally stumbled in around 6 a.m., I pretended to be asleep, studying him through barely open eyes as he kicked off his shoes and collapsed fully clothed onto the mattress. My brother Sam's law office was only a 10-minute walk from my workplace, but it felt like miles that morning. Each step was heavy with the weight of what I'd discovered. When I arrived, his secretary waved me straight through. Being the boss's sister had its perks. "You look like hell," Sam said, not looking up from his computer. When I didn't respond with our usual banter, he finally raised his eyes. Evie? I dropped the stack of papers I'd found in Travis's closet onto his desk. I need your help. Sam picked up the collection notice, his expression darkening as he read. Jesus Christ. 86,000? Plus the 47 from your savings? He shuffled through the papers, his lawyer face settling in. How long has this been going on? I don't know. My voice cracked. I thought I knew everything about our finances. I'm supposed to be good at this, Sam. It's literally my job. This isn't your fault. Sam leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his graying hair. Remember when Travis bought that vintage Harley right before your wedding? He sold it 3 months later. Said it wasn't practical. No, Evie. He crashed it. Totally wrecked. But instead of telling you, he took out a personal loan to replace it before you found out. Sam's words hit me like a punch to the gut. I helped him with the paperwork. He swore it was a one-time thing, that he'd learned his lesson. The room seemed to tilt slightly. Why didn't you tell me? He was about to become my brother-in-law. He seemed genuinely sorry, and the amount was manageable. Sam's face softened. I should have told you. I'm sorry. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Travis's mother, Maggie, dinner tonight? Haven't seen you both in ages. 7 p.m.? I showed Sam the message. He shook his head. You should go. Keep things normal while we figure this out. I'll make some calls, see what kind of legal exposure you're facing. That evening, I arrived at Maggie's colonial-style house alone, having told Travis to meet me there after his shoot. The familiar scent of her lasagna filled the air as she pulled me into a warm hug. Where's my boy? She asked, leading me into the kitchen. Running late. Client meeting. The lie felt bitter on my tongue. Oh, he's been so busy lately. Did he show you the beautiful watch he bought last week? Said it was a gift for a friend who helped him land that big corporate contract. My hand froze on the wine glass I was reaching for. A watch? Aha. Must have cost a fortune. You know how Travis is, always going overboard with gifts. Remember that gorgeous painting he bought me last month? The artist was such a lovely young thing. What was her name? Lila something? The room suddenly felt too warm. I don't think Travis mentioned her. Oh, you should see her work. She has this little gallery downtown. Travis has been helping her with photography for her upcoming show. Such a generous boy, just like his father. The front door opened, and Travis's voice called out, "Something smells amazing." He appeared in the kitchen doorway, and for a moment, I saw him through new eyes. His carefully tousled hair, the expensive camera bag slung over his shoulder, the easy smile that had made me fall in love with him. All of it felt like a carefully constructed facade. Sorry I'm late, he said, kissing his mother's cheek before moving to do the same to me. I turned my head slightly, making his lips land on my jaw instead of my mouth. If he noticed, he didn't show it. Travis, honey, Maggie said, I was just telling Evie about that beautiful watch you bought. The one for your friend? I watched his face carefully, noting the slight tightening around his eyes. The way his hand paused for a fraction of a second as he reached for the wine bottle. Oh, right, he said smoothly. Just a thank you gift for a client referral. 3 lies in one evening, and dinner hadn't even started yet. I took a long sip of wine, wondering how many more revelations were waiting to shatter what remained of my marriage. The business card felt heavy in my hand. Davidson Investigations, discretion guaranteed. Sam had slipped it to me after that disastrous dinner at Maggie's, along with a stern warning about keeping everything legal. 3 days later, I sat across from Mike Davidson in his downtown office, watching him scroll through the photos on his tablet. "Your husband's been busy," he said, turning the screen toward me. "These are from the past week." The first image showed Travis entering what looked like a rundown sports bar. The timestamp read 2:14 p.m., right when he'd told me he was meeting with clients. The next showed him leaving 3 hours later, looking considerably more disheveled. But it was the third photo that made my stomach lurch. Travis was standing outside an art gallery, his hand on the small of a woman's back. She was laughing, her head thrown back, dark curls cascading down her shoulders. Even from the grainy surveillance photo, I could tell she was beautiful. "That's Lila Bennett," Davidson said, his voice matter-of-fact. "She owns the gallery. Your husband's been there 6 times in the past 2 weeks, usually staying for several hours." My throat felt tight. "The watch?" Davidson nodded, swiping to another photo. Travis and Lila outside a high-end jewelry store, his arm around her waist. The timestamp matched the day of the $47,000 withdrawal. "There's more," Davidson said, hesitating. "The sports bar? It's a known front for illegal gambling. Your husband's got himself mixed up with some dangerous people. A man named Victor Ramirez runs the operation." Victor. The name from the emails. "How much does he owe?" Davidson pulled out a manila envelope. "Based on our surveillance and some conversations with inside sources, we estimate around $200,000. The $86,000 collection notice you found? That's just the tip of the iceberg." The room started spinning. $200,000. Our entire savings, gone. Our future, evaporated. "Mrs. Mitchell." "Parker," I corrected automatically. I'd kept my name after marriage, something that had always bothered Travis's mother. "Mrs. Parker, there's something else you should know." Davidson's expression softened slightly. "The gallery? It's not doing well. According to public records, it's 3 months behind on rent. But last week, someone paid all the back rent in cash." My laugh came out hollow. "Let me guess. Right after the withdrawal?" Davidson nodded. "Your husband's playing a dangerous game. These people don't mess around when it comes to collecting debts." That night, I waited up for Travis. He came home around midnight, smelling of expensive cologne that wasn't his usual brand. When he kissed my cheek, I had to force myself not to flinch. "How was your day?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. "Good. Productive. Got that corporate campaign wrapped up finally." He loosened his tie, heading for the shower. "The one you needed the equipment for?" He paused. "Yeah, that one." "Funny," I said, following him into the bathroom. "Because I called your regular clients today. None of them have hired you for any corporate work recently." Travis froze, his hand on the shower door. "You did what?" "Where's the equipment, Travis? The stuff you spent our savings on? You're checking up on me now?" His voice took on an edge I'd never heard before. "Going behind my back? Like you went behind mine with Lila?" The color drained from his face. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the drip of the faucet, marking time like a metronome. "It's not what you think," he finally said. "Really?" "Because I think you're gambling away our future while buying expensive gifts for another woman." My voice cracked. "I think you're lying to me, to your mother, to everyone." "Evie, please." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number: "Tell your husband he has 48 hours to pay what he owes, or things get uncomfortable." V. I held up the phone, watching Travis's face crumple as he read the message. "Who's Victor, Travis? And what exactly happens when things get uncomfortable?" Travis's confession came in pieces, each one more devastating than the last. We sat in our kitchen as dawn crept through the windows, the threat from Victor hanging between us like a blade. "I can fix this," Travis kept saying, his hands shaking as he poured his third cup of coffee. "I just need a little more time." Time for what? To lose more money? To buy more watches for Lila? His head snapped up. "Leave her out of this. She has nothing to do with." "With what? The gambling? The lies? Or just the part where you're destroying our life?" The silence that followed felt like glass about to shatter. I pulled out Davidson's photos, spreading them across the kitchen table like a twisted timeline of betrayal. $200,000, Travis. Where did you think this would end? He stared at the photos, his face ashen. I was winning at first. Big wins. The kind of money that could set us up for life. Then Victor offered to stake me for bigger games, and... He trailed off, running his hands through his hair. I just needed one more good hand. One more chance to make it right. And Lila? Was she just another bet? She's a friend. That's all. But he wouldn't meet my eyes. The gallery was going under. I couldn't let that happen. So you used our savings? Money we worked for, planned for? I used my inheritance from Dad. His voice was barely a whisper. The room tilted sideways. What inheritance? The life insurance money. It came through last month. I never told you because... He swallowed hard. Because I'd already lost most of it by then. I grabbed the edge of the table, steadying myself. The insurance money was supposed to be substantial, enough to start the photography studio Travis had always dreamed about. The future we'd planned together. How much was it? $300,000. My laugh came out like broken glass. So you're telling me you've lost $500,000? Our savings, the insurance, and now you owe money to criminals? Travis reached for my hand. I pulled away, my wedding ring catching the morning light. The same ring he'd insisted on upgrading last year, claiming his business was doing well enough to afford it. Was that bought with gambling money too? His silence was answer enough. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Victor, time's running out. Meeting at the usual place. 3 p.m. Bring the money or bring a lawyer. I'll talk to him, Travis said, reading over my shoulder. Maybe I can negotiate. No. I stood up, my decision crystallizing. You're done negotiating. Done gambling. Done lying. What are you going to do? I grabbed my car keys. I'm going to meet Lila. Evie, don't. You lost the right to tell me what to do when you bet our future on a poker game. The drive to Lila's gallery took 20 minutes. Each mile brought a new question, a new doubt. Had they laughed about me together? Had he told her about our fights, our dreams, our struggles? The gallery was small but elegant, tucked between a coffee shop and a vintage bookstore. Through the window, I could see her arranging photographs on a white wall. Travis's photographs. My husband's art, displayed like love letters for everyone to see. The bell chimed as I pushed open the door. Lila turned, her smile warm and professional. Welcome to Bennett Gallery. How can I? I'm Evie Parker. I watched recognition flash across her face. Or as you might know me, Travis Mitchell's wife. She dropped the photograph she was holding. It hit the floor with a crack, the glass splintering across the polished concrete. In that broken reflection, I saw both our faces, two women caught in the same man's web of lies. His wife? Her voice trembled. But he said he was divorced. That his ex-wife. Let me guess. That his ex-wife took everything in the settlement? That he's still paying off her debts? Lila sank into a nearby chair, her face draining of color. Oh God. The money he gave me for the gallery was stolen, I finished. Just like everything else. Lila and I sat in her back office, 2 cups of untouched coffee growing cold between us. Her gallery walls were covered in Travis's photographs, moments he'd captured while lying to us both. I recognized some of them from the days he'd claimed to be at client meetings. He said the money was from his photography business, Lila whispered, staring at her trembling hands. That he wanted to invest in emerging artists. My phone buzzed again. 2 hours until Victor's deadline. Did he ever mention gambling? I asked. She shook her head, then stopped. Wait. There was this one night. He was acting strange, kept checking his phone. Said he needed to meet someone about an investment opportunity. When he came back. She swallowed hard. His knuckles were bruised. The gallery door chimed. We both turned to see Travis stumbling in, his face pale and sweating. Evie, please, you can't be here, he froze when he saw Lila. I can explain everything. Like you explained being divorced? Lila stood up, her artist's hands clenched into fists. Or how you explained the gallery money. I was going to pay it back. All of it. Victor just needs. Victor? Lila's voice cracked. The same Victor who sent those men here last week? I felt the blood drain from my face. What men? They came looking for Travis. Said something about collateral. She hugged herself, shrinking into herself. They took some of the artwork. Said it was insurance. Travis stepped forward. Lila, I'm so sorry. I never meant. The sharp crack of her palm against his cheek echoed through the gallery. Get out. Both of you. I'm calling the police. You can't, Travis pleaded. Victor will. Will what? I demanded. Hurt us. Like he hurt you that night? Before Travis could answer, the gallery door chimed again. 2 men in expensive suits entered, their presence filling the small space like smoke before a fire. Time's up, Mitchell, the taller one said. Victor's waiting. Travis's face went from pale to gray. I just need 1 more day. No more days. The man's eyes swept over the gallery, lingering on Lila's frightened face before settling on me. Though maybe we can work something out. Victor's always had an eye for alternative payment methods. I felt something snap inside me, not like breaking, but like a lock clicking open. All the fear and hurt of the past weeks crystallized into something harder, colder. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone, I'd like to speak to Victor myself. Evie, don't, Travis started. Shut up. My voice was ice. You've done enough talking. I turned to the men. Tell Victor the first have a proposition. One that involves Travis's inheritance money. The shorter man raised an eyebrow. The insurance payout's gone, lady. Your husband blew through it weeks ago. No, I smiled, pulling up the email from Sam I'd received that morning. He only got half of it. The other half was meant to go to his mother, but there was a clerical error. The insurance company just released the funds this morning. I have access to the account details. Travis's eyes widened. How did you? While you were busy destroying our lives, I was actually trying to save them. I turned back to Victor's men. Tell him I want to meet. Just me. And tell him to bring proof of Travis's debts. All of them. The taller man made a call, speaking quietly into his phone. After a moment, he nodded. Victor will see you. Now. As we headed for the door, Lila called out, "Evie? What are you going to do?" I looked at Travis, seeing him clearly for the first time, not as the man I'd married, but as the stranger he'd become. "I'm going to make sure everyone gets exactly what they deserve." The men led me to a waiting car, leaving Travis standing in the gallery doorway. His reflection fractured across the broken photograph still lying on the floor. In that moment, I realized revenge wasn't about hurting someone who hurt you. Sometimes, it was about making sure justice came in exactly the right form at exactly the right time. And I knew exactly what form Travis's justice needed to take. Victor's office was nothing like I'd imagined. No dark warehouse or smoky backroom, just a pristine suite in a downtown high-rise with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. He sat behind a glass desk, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary. "Mrs. Parker," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. "I appreciate punctuality in business matters." I placed Sam's legal documents on the desk. "Let's talk about Travis's debt." Victor smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Your husband owes me $200,000. The terms were clear." "Show me." He slid a leather folder across the desk. Inside were promissory notes, each signed in Travis's familiar scrawl. The dates aligned perfectly with our missing savings, the withdrawn inheritance, the gallery payments to Lila. "And the interest?" I asked. "Compounds daily. Currently at 40%. My hands clenched in my lap. "That's illegal. So is gambling in my establishment. Yet here we are." Victor leaned forward. "I understand you have access to the remaining insurance money?" "I do. But I have conditions." His eyebrow raised slightly. "You're not in a position to negotiate, Mrs. Parker." "Actually, I am." I pulled out my phone, showing him the email from Sam. "This money legally belongs to Maggie Mitchell. One call from me, and she'll know everything, the gambling, the debt, the threats. How do you think it'll look when a grieving widow goes to the police about loan sharks threatening her son?" Victor's smile vanished. "You're playing a dangerous game." "No, I'm ending one." I met his gaze steadily. "Here's my offer. I'll transfer the insurance money, all $150,000. In exchange, you'll sign a document stating Travis's debt is paid in full. And you'll never contact him again. That's less than what he owes. It's more than you'll get if I walk out that door." The silence stretched between us like a wire about to snap. Finally, Victor nodded to one of his men, who produced a document. "Sign here," Victor said. "The money first, then I sign." My hand shook as I made the transfer. When it was done, Victor signed the release with a flourish. "A pleasure doing business," he said. "Though I'm curious, why save him? After everything he's done?" "I'm not saving him," I replied, standing. "I'm making sure he faces the right consequences." Outside, Travis was waiting by the car, pacing nervously. "Evie? What happened? Are we okay?" I handed him the signed release. "The debt's paid. You're free." His shoulders sagged with relief. "Thank God. Baby, I promise I'll make this up to you. We can start fresh." "No, Travis. We can't." He froze. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I just used your mother's inheritance to save your life. Money that was meant to support her after losing your father." I stepped back as he reached for me. "The gallery's pressing charges for fraud. Lila's lawyer will be contacting you about the stolen funds. And I've already filed for divorce. Evie, please. You have two choices," I cut him off. "Either you check into rehab today, right now, or I call your mother and tell her everything. How you gambled away her husband's insurance money. How you stole from a grieving artist. How you nearly got us both killed. Travis's face crumpled. I need help, he whispered. I know. I pulled out one last piece of paper, the admission form for a treatment center. That's why I already made the arrangements. Will you? He swallowed hard. Will you wait for me? I thought about all the nights I'd waited for him, not knowing he was gambling away our future. About Lila, waiting in her gallery for a man who'd never really existed. About Maggie, still waiting for her son to become the man his father had been. No, I said softly. But maybe someday, you'll be someone worth waiting for. I watched as Victor's men escorted Travis to another car, heading for the treatment center. My phone buzzed with a text from Sam, papers filed. You okay? I looked at our reflection in the building's mirrored surface, Travis disappearing into the car, me standing alone in the afternoon sun. For the first time in weeks, I felt something close to peace. No, I texted back. But I will be. 3 weeks after Travis entered rehab, Maggie showed up at my apartment unannounced. She stood in my doorway, clutching her handbag like a shield, looking older than I'd ever seen her. Were you ever going to tell me? Her voice trembled. About what Travis did with Robert's money. I stepped aside to let her in. How did you find out? The insurance company called about some paperwork. She sank onto my couch. I started asking questions. Then I spoke to Lila. Her eyes met mine. That poor girl. How could he? The kettle whistled in the kitchen, giving me a moment to collect myself. When I returned with 2 cups of tea, Maggie had pulled out a stack of letters. He's been writing to me from the facility, she said. Trying to explain. But I need to hear it from you, Evie. All of it. So I told her everything, the gambling, the lies, the debt to Victor. With each revelation, her hands gripped the letters tighter, knuckles white against the paper. I should have seen it, she whispered. The signs were all there, just like with his father. I nearly dropped my cup. What? Why do you think Robert had such a large life insurance policy? Her laugh was bitter. He got it after his first stint in rehab, 20 years ago. Said it was to protect us if he relapsed. The pieces clicked into place, Travis's secrecy, his father's sudden heart attack last year. The way Maggie had insisted on handling all the funeral arrangements alone. Did Travis know? About his father? No. Robert made me promise never to tell him. He was afraid Travis would. She closed her eyes. Would follow the same path. My phone buzzed, a text from the rehab facility, Travis Mitchell requesting immediate family visit. Urgent. Maggie saw the message over my shoulder. We should go together. The facility was an hour outside the city. During the drive, Maggie told me more about Robert, his struggles, his recoveries. His final relapse that led to that fatal night at a casino in Vegas. By the time we arrived, I felt the weight of 2 generations of addiction pressing down on us. Travis was waiting in the visitor's room, wearing facility-issued sweats that made him look somehow younger and older at the same time. When he saw Maggie, his face crumpled. Mom? What are you doing here? She stepped forward. Learning that my son is more like his father than I ever wanted him to be. Travis went pale. What do you mean? The gambling, Travis. The lies. Your father. She took a shaky breath. Your father died chasing one last win. Just like you almost did. He collapsed into a chair, hands shaking. Dad was. Like me? No, Maggie's voice hardened. You're like him. And I won't watch another Mitchell man destroy himself and everyone around him. I'm getting help, Travis protested. I'm trying to change. Are you? I cut in. Or are you just trying to win me back? Like another game you think you can play? Evie, please. Mom. He looked between us desperately. I know I messed up. But I'm doing the work. I'm facing everything I've done. Then face this, Maggie pulled out one last letter, not from the stack Travis had sent, but an older one, yellowed with age. Your father wrote this before he died. I think it's time you read it. Travis took the letter with trembling hands. As he read, tears began rolling down his face. When he finished, he looked up at his mother with new understanding. He was trying to win back what he lost, Travis whispered. Just like I was. The difference is, Maggie said softly, you still have a chance to choose a different ending. I watched them embrace, mother and son united in grief and hope. In that moment, I realized that sometimes the greatest act of revenge isn't about making someone suffer, it's about forcing them to face the truth. No matter how painful that truth might be. As I turned to leave, Travis called out, Evie, wait. There's something else you need to know. 6 months after Travis entered rehab, I sat in Lila's gallery, surrounded by her new exhibition. The walls were covered with photographs, not Travis's this time, but her own. Images of broken things made beautiful, shattered mirrors, cracked pottery filled with gold, weathered buildings reclaimed by nature. It's called restoration, Lila said, handing me a glass of wine. Sometimes things have to break completely before they can be rebuilt. I studied a particularly striking image of a wedding ring half buried in sand. Is that the one Travis gave me? Yes. She smiled without bitterness. I almost threw it into the ocean, but then I thought, why waste good art material? The gallery door chimed. Maggie entered, followed by Travis. He looked different, thinner, but somehow more substantial. Real. His eyes met mine briefly before focusing on the photographs. These are incredible, Lila, he said softly. Thank you. She straightened her shoulders. The proceeds are going to a gambling addiction support center. Seemed fitting. Travis nodded, then pulled an envelope from his jacket. I've been working with my counselor on making amends. This is the first installment to repay what I took from the gallery. Lila took the envelope without opening it. Keep it. Fund someone else's recovery instead. I don't deserve your forgiveness. No, she agreed. But you have it anyway. That's how healing works. As Lila led Maggie through the exhibition, Travis turned to me. I found a job. Teaching photography at the community center. It's not much, but it's honest work. I heard, I said. Sam told me you're also volunteering at the addiction hotline. 3 nights a week. He hesitated. I got my 90-day chip yesterday. Congratulations. An uncomfortable silence stretched between us. Finally, Travis pulled out another envelope, this one worn, like it had been carried for weeks. I wrote this during my 4th week in rehab, he said. After I read my dad's letter. I've rewritten it dozens of times, but... well, you should just read it. I opened the envelope slowly, aware of his eyes on me as I unfolded the pages. Dear Evie, it began. I used to think rock bottom was losing all our money, or facing Victor, or watching you walk away. But real rock bottom was realizing that I'd become my father's son in all the wrong ways. While ignoring the one lesson he tried to teach me through his death, that love isn't about winning or losing, it's about choosing, every day, to be worthy of it. The letter continued, detailing his struggles, his shame, his gradual understanding of the damage he'd caused. But it was the final paragraph that made my hands shake. I'm not asking you to take me back. I'm not even asking for forgiveness. I'm writing to tell you that you were right about everything. Your revenge wasn't making me pay the money back or forcing me into rehab. Your revenge was making me face myself, completely and honestly, for the first time in my life. And for that, I will always be grateful. I folded the letter carefully, aware of the weight of everything unsaid between us. The divorce papers are final next week, I said quietly. I know. Travis smiled sadly. You know what's strange? For the first time in my life, I'm not trying to win anything back. I'm just trying to be better. Across the gallery, Lila was showing Maggie a photograph of a broken clock, its gears scattered but glinting with possibility. The late afternoon sun caught the image, casting fractured light across the floor between Travis and me. Maybe that's the real difference between you and your father, I said. You're learning to live with the pieces, instead of trying to gamble them back together. Travis nodded, understanding in his eyes. As I turned to leave, he called out one last time. Evie? Thank you. For making me fold when you did. I paused at the door, looking back at the exhibition title, Restoration. Sometimes, I said, losing everything is the only way to find out what's worth keeping. Outside, the city was painted in sunset colors, broken and beautiful and full of possibilities. I walked toward it, leaving the gallery and Travis behind, knowing that some things need to stay broken to remind us why we choose to heal. I never thought my life would implode because of a plain brown envelope. But there it was, sitting innocently on my doorstep when I got home from dropping Oliver at daycare. No return address, just my name, Harper Quinn, typed neatly on the front. I almost tossed it in with the junk mail. My hands were full of grocery bags, and I was already running late for a client consultation. But something about that envelope nagged at me. Maybe it was how precisely my name was centered, or how the paper felt expensive between my fingers. Inside were photos. At first, they didn't make sense, just random shots of downtown Seattle. Then I saw him. My husband Caleb, walking into the Fairmont Olympic Hotel. Another shot showed him at their bar, leaning close to a woman with long dark hair. The final photo punched the air from my lungs, Caleb kissing her in the elevator, his hands tangled in that same dark hair. The timestamp showed these were taken just 3 days ago, when he'd told me he was pulling an all-nighter at the office for a product launch. My phone buzzed. A text from Caleb, running late tonight. Big presentation tomorrow. Don't wait up. I stared at his message until the screen went dark. The lies felt different now, weighted with proof I couldn't unsee. 2 years of marriage, a beautiful son. And countless late nights at the office started realigning themselves in my mind like puzzle pieces, finally showing the real picture. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Lily, still on for coffee tomorrow? You've been MIA lately. I hadn't told anyone about my suspicions. How Caleb's shirts sometimes smelled of unfamiliar perfume. How he'd started keeping his phone face down and taking calls in another room. I'd buried those doubts beneath the routine of caring for Oliver and managing my freelance makeup clients. It was easier to pretend everything was fine. But now... I laid the photos on our kitchen counter, the one Caleb had insisted on upgrading to marble last year. Everything in our house suddenly felt like a prop in some elaborate performance. The family photos on the walls. The matching coffee mugs in the cabinet. Even Oliver's artwork on the fridge seemed to mock me with its bright, innocent colors. My hands shook as I texted Lily back, "Actually, can you come over tonight? Need to talk." Then I called my afternoon client and rescheduled. I couldn't possibly focus on making someone else look beautiful when my own life was crumbling. I spent the next hour going through Caleb's things, looking for what? More evidence? Some explanation that would make this all make sense? In his closet, I found receipts for restaurants I'd never been to, tucked into jacket pockets. A small jewelry box from Tiffany's hidden behind his winter sweaters, definitely not something I'd ever received. The front door opened at exactly 6:15 p.m., right on schedule. "Honey? Why's your car still here?" Caleb's voice carried upstairs, confused but not worried. Not yet. I looked at myself in our bedroom mirror, smoothing my hair and straightening my shoulders. The woman staring back at me wasn't the same person who'd walked through that door with groceries this morning. That Harper had been naive, trusting. This Harper had evidence scattered across her marriage bed and rage simmering beneath her skin. Up here, I called out, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. We need to talk about your late nights at the office. His footsteps paused on the stairs. In that moment of silence, I could almost hear the gears turning in his head, crafting explanations and excuses. But I had photos that told the truth, and soon he'd realize that his carefully constructed double life was about to come crashing down. I picked up the envelope and waited for my husband to walk into a conversation that would change everything. The dinner table felt like a minefield. My mother kept glancing at Caleb's empty chair while Dad pushed his pot roast around his plate. Oliver, blissfully unaware of the tension, happily smeared mashed potatoes across his face. Another late meeting? Mom's voice carried that edge I'd grown to hate, the one that said "I told you so" without actually saying it. Product launch, I replied automatically, the lie tasting bitter on my tongue. It had been 3 days since I'd found the photos, and I still hadn't confronted Caleb. Each night, he'd come home with perfectly crafted excuses and gentle kisses that felt like betrayal. You know, Harper, Dad set down his fork, when your mother and I were starting out. James, Mom warned, but he continued. No, Margaret, she needs to hear this. When we were young, I worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. But I never missed Sunday dinner. Not once. I focused on wiping Oliver's face, grateful for the distraction. Caleb's company is different. Tech startups are demanding. Too demanding to see his son? Mom's question hung in the air like smoke. My phone buzzed. A text from Caleb, sorry, babe. Meeting running long. Tell your parents I'm sorry to miss dinner. Kiss Oliver goodnight for me. I showed them the message, watching their expressions darken. The same expressions they'd worn when I'd announced my engagement to Caleb 3 years ago. They'd never said it outright, but they'd seen something in him that I'd been too in love to notice. I should get Oliver home for bed, I said, standing up. It's past his bedtime. Mom followed me to the door while Dad got Oliver ready. Sweetheart, is everything okay? You seem different lately. For a moment, I almost told her everything. About the photos, the lies, the nights I lay awake listening to Caleb shower as soon as he got home, washing away evidence of where he'd been. But telling her would make it real, and I wasn't ready for that yet. I'm fine, Mom. Just tired. She hugged me tight, and I had to fight back tears. You know you can always come home, right? You and Oliver both. The drive home was quiet except for Oliver's soft snoring from the backseat. I took the long way, passing by Caleb's office building. His car wasn't in its usual spot, but I hadn't expected it to be. I wondered if he was with her right now, in some expensive hotel room, while I drove our son home alone. When I pulled into our driveway, I noticed a woman standing near our front door. For a wild moment, I thought it might be her, the dark-haired woman from the photos. But as I got closer, I recognized Lily's familiar silhouette. Surprise, she called out softly, noticing Oliver asleep in my arms. I brought wine and that terrible reality TV show you love. Inside, after putting Oliver to bed, Lily poured us each a generous glass of red. Okay, spill. You've been avoiding me for days, and you look like hell. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to the photos I'd saved. Someone sent these to me. Lily's sharp intake of breath said everything. She flipped through them slowly, her expression hardening with each swipe. That son of a bitch. I don't know what to do, I admitted, the words finally breaking free. I haven't confronted him yet. I keep waiting for. I don't know what I'm waiting for. You're waiting for it not to be true, Lily said gently. But Harper, you need to The front door opened, and Caleb's voice called out, "Honey? Why are all the lights still on?" Lily and I froze, staring at each other. My phone, with the damning photos still displayed, sat between us on the coffee table. Footsteps approached the living room, and I had to decide, face him now, with Lily as my witness, or continue pretending everything was fine. I reached for my phone just as Caleb walked in, but I wasn't quite fast enough. His eyes caught the image on the screen, and for just a moment, his carefully maintained facade cracked. After Caleb's hasty retreat from the living room that night, I couldn't sleep. His laptop sat on his desk, taunting me. He never logged out, why would he? We'd always trusted each other. Or at least, I'd trusted him. The clock read 3:17 a.m. when I finally sat at his desk. His password was still Oliver's birthday. Some things hadn't changed, even if everything else had. I didn't know what I was looking for until I found it, a second email account hidden in his browser history. The username made my stomach turn, cfoster.private@gmail.com. Real creative, Caleb. The inbox loaded, and there she was. Vanessa Reed. Dozens of emails, stretching back months. My hands shook as I clicked the first one. Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. When can I see you again? Date stamped 3 days after Oliver's second birthday party. I kept reading, each message worse than the last. Lunch meetings that turned into hotel afternoons. Weekend business trips that were actually romantic getaways. Plans, promises, declarations of love, all while I was at home, raising our son, believing his lies about late nights at the office. Harper? I jumped. Caleb stood in the doorway, his hair messy from sleep. For a moment, he looked like the man I'd fallen in love with, vulnerable, real. Then his eyes fell on the laptop screen. I can explain, he started. Explain what? My voice sounded strange, distant. How you've been sleeping with your coworker since our son turned 2. Or how you took her to Paris last month when you said you were at a tech conference. He stepped forward. It's not what you think. Really? I turned the screen toward him. Because I think it's exactly what these emails show. You and Vanessa planning your little rendezvous while I'm at home, being the perfect wife, the devoted mother. Lower your voice, he hissed. You'll wake Oliver. Oh, now you care about Oliver? The laugh that escaped me didn't sound like my own. Where was that concern when you were missing his doctor's appointments for your afternoon hookups? His face changed then, hardening into something I didn't recognize. You want to know the truth? Fine. Yes, I'm seeing Vanessa. Yes, it's been going on for months. Because with her, I don't have to pretend to be perfect all the time. She doesn't look at me with disappointment when I work late or miss a family dinner. No, she just looks at you naked in hotel rooms while your wife and child wait at home. He flinched. That's not fair. Fair? I stood up so quickly the chair crashed backward. You want to talk about fair? I'm going to show you fair. I grabbed my phone and started forwarding the emails to myself. Caleb lunged for the laptop, but I blocked him. Don't, he warned. Think about what you're doing. Think about Oliver. I am thinking about Oliver. I'm thinking about how I'm going to explain to our son why his father is a lying, cheating. A cry from down the hall cut me off. Oliver, awakened by our fighting. We both froze, the sound of our son's distress cutting through the tension like a knife. I'll get him, Caleb said, moving toward the door. No. I stepped in front of him. You don't get to comfort him. Not anymore. As I walked to Oliver's room, I heard Caleb call after me, Harper, please. We can work this out. I'll end it with Vanessa. I'll do whatever you want. I picked up our crying son, holding him close, breathing in his innocent scent. It's okay, baby, I whispered. Mommy's here. Over Oliver's shoulder, I watched Caleb hovering in the doorway, his face a mask of regret and desperation. But all I could see were those emails, those lies, those betrayals playing on repeat in my mind. Pack a bag, I said quietly, still rocking Oliver. I want you gone before we wake up. Harper. And Caleb? I met his eyes, letting him see all the hurt and anger I'd been holding back. Tell Vanessa she can have you. I'm done. Oliver's sobs quieted to hiccups as Caleb's footsteps retreated down the hall. In the darkness of the nursery, I made a silent promise to my son. This wasn't the end of our story, it was just the beginning of a new one. The divorce papers sat untouched on my kitchen counter for 3 days. My lawyer said they were straightforward: a clean break, joint custody of Oliver, division of assets. Simple. Except nothing about destroying a family is simple. Caleb called again, his 4th attempt today. I let it go to voicemail, like all the others. Instead, I focused on Oliver playing with his blocks on the floor, building towers just to knock them down. Each crash made him giggle, completely unaware that his world was falling apart too. The doorbell rang. I checked my phone, no scheduled visits, no deliveries. Through the peephole, I saw Caleb, looking more disheveled than I'd ever seen him. Harper, please, he called through the door. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I glanced at Oliver, still absorbed in his blocks. Stay right there, baby, I whispered, stepping onto the porch and closing the door behind me. Caleb looked terrible. His usual pressed shirts and perfect hair replaced by wrinkled clothes and dark circles under his eyes. You're not answering my calls. I'm busy keeping our son's life as normal as possible. I miss him. I miss you both. He reached for my hand, but I stepped back. We can fix this. I ended things with Vanessa. Completely. I even requested a transfer to a different department. Did you tell her about Paris? The words came out sharp, cutting. About the apartment you were planning to buy there? I saw the real estate emails, Caleb. You weren't just having an affair, you were building a whole other life. His face paled. Those were just fantasies. I never meant to get caught. I laughed, but it sounded more like a sob. You know what the worst part is? I keep thinking about all those nights I apologized to Oliver for you missing bedtime. All those times I defended you to my parents. I made excuses for you while you were planning your escape. It wasn't like that. He ran his hands through his hair, a nervous gesture I used to find endearing. I was lost, Harper. The pressure at work, trying to be the perfect husband and father. I cracked. Vanessa was just convenient? A mistake. His voice cracked. The biggest mistake of my life. But we have history, Harper. We have Oliver. We can get through this. A car pulled into our driveway, Vanessa's sleek BMW. My heart stopped as she stepped out, designer handbag clutched like armor. What is she doing here? I hissed at Caleb. I don't know. He looked genuinely shocked. I swear, Harper, I didn't. Save it. I turned to face Vanessa as she approached, her confidence faltering slightly when she saw my expression. Harper, she started, I know this is inappropriate, but we need to talk. All of us. About what? How you and my husband planned your perfect Parisian life while I changed diapers. No, about, she opened her bag, pulling out an envelope. About this. Inside were more photos, dozens of them. But these weren't of Caleb and Vanessa. They were of Caleb with other women. Different hotels, different cities, different dates. Some from before Vanessa, some after. He's been lying to both of us, Vanessa said quietly. I found these on his work laptop yesterday. There are others. I stared at the photos, each one a fresh betrayal. All those business trips, all those late nights. My hands started shaking. Harper, Caleb stepped toward me. I can explain. The sound of Oliver's laughter drifted through the front door, innocent and pure. Something inside me hardened. No, I said, my voice steady. No more explanations. No more lies. I turned to Vanessa. Thank you for showing me these. You can keep him. Harper, please, Caleb reached for me again. The papers are inside. Sign them by Friday, or I'll make sure every woman you've ever deceived gets their day in court. I opened the front door. And Caleb? Oliver's birthday party is next weekend. Don't come. I walked inside, leaving them both on the porch, and sat down next to my son. He immediately handed me a block, smiling his father's smile. Build, Mommy, he said simply. So I did, helping him create something new from the pieces of our broken world. The fashion show prep room buzzed with nervous energy. Models rushed between makeup stations while designers made last-minute adjustments. This was my first major event since the separation, and my hands trembled slightly as I applied eyeliner to a willowy blonde. Harper? My client list coordinator appeared, tablet in hand. There's been a change. The lead designer wants you to do Vanessa Reed's makeup. She's closing the show. The eyeliner pencil snapped in my grip. I don't work with homewreckers, I said quietly, keeping my voice steady despite the surge of anger. She specifically requested you. Said you're the best in Seattle. He paused, checking his tablet. It would mean a lot of exposure. She's being featured in Vogue next month. Of course she was. Vanessa always landed on her feet, even after our confrontation. The photos she'd revealed about Caleb's other affairs had done nothing to diminish her own role in destroying my marriage. Fine, I said, surprising myself. Send her over. Vanessa appeared minutes later, wearing a silk robe and an uncertain expression. Harper, Sit. I gestured to the chair, already reaching for my brushes. And don't talk. I need to concentrate. She complied, and I began working. Each stroke of the brush was precise, professional. I could make her beautiful, or I could make her look like a circus clown. The power was intoxicating. I left him, she said suddenly, breaking our tense silence. After those photos. I couldn't trust anything he said. My hand stilled. I'm not your therapist. No, but you're the only one who understands. She met my eyes in the mirror. He's seeing someone new already. Did you know? I didn't, and the knowledge hit harder than expected. My brushstrokes became slightly more aggressive. Some junior executive at his company. 25, fresh out of business school. Vanessa winced as I applied the eyeliner with perhaps too much force. He has a type, doesn't he? Women who admire him, look up to him. Until they realize it's all an act. Stop talking. My voice cracked slightly. Just stop. Harper? Lily appeared behind me, concern etched on her face. She'd been helping coordinate the show's logistics. Everything okay here? Fine, I said, adding the final touches to Vanessa's makeup. We're done. You're perfect. Go destroy someone else's life. Vanessa stood, her expression complicated. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Not just about Caleb. About everything. As she walked away, Lily grabbed my arm. What was that about? And why didn't you tell me she'd be here? I didn't know. I started packing up my supplies, hands shaking. Did you know about Caleb's new girlfriend? Harper. Did you? Lily's silence was answer enough. I pushed past her, needing air, needing space. In the hallway, I bumped into someone, the lead designer. Harper Quinn? Perfect timing. I wanted to discuss using you for our Paris Fashion Week team next month. Paris. Where Caleb and Vanessa had planned their future. Where he was probably taking his new girlfriend now. I need a minute. I rushed toward the exit, ignoring the calls behind me. Outside, the Seattle rain matched my mood. My phone buzzed, a text from my mom, Oliver's having a great time. Don't worry about rushing back. Another buzz. Caleb, can we talk about adjusting the custody schedule? Sarah would like to meet Oliver. Sarah. The new girlfriend had a name. I stared at my reflection in a rain puddle, mascara running down my cheeks. The woman looking back at me seemed foreign, broken, lost. But something else flickered in those eyes. Determination. Rage. Power. My phone buzzed again. The lead designer, Paris offer stands. All expenses paid, 3-week contract. Need answer tonight. I thought about Caleb and his parade of women. About Vanessa and her perfectly made-up face. About Oliver, who deserved a mother he could be proud of. Walking back inside, I found the lead designer. About Paris, I said, my voice stronger than I'd felt in months. I'm in. But I have one condition: I want to do Vanessa's makeup for the entire show. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destruction. It's about rising above, shining brighter, and showing them exactly what they lost. Paris in December wasn't the romantic dream I'd imagined. Rain pelted the hotel windows as I unpacked my makeup supplies, trying to focus on tomorrow's show. 3 weeks of working alongside Vanessa, my own personal version of hell, dressed up as career advancement. My phone lit up with a video call from home. Oliver's face filled the screen, chocolate smeared across his cheeks. Mommy! Look what Sarah made. Sarah. Of course she was there during Caleb's custody time. My stomach clenched as the camera panned to show elaborate Christmas cookies spread across my former kitchen counter. My kitchen. Where that woman now played happy families with my son. They're beautiful, baby, I managed. Are you being good for Daddy? Sarah's teaching me to decorate. His innocent excitement felt like needles in my heart. When are you coming home? Soon, sweetheart. Just 2 more. The call dropped. Typical Paris hotel Wi-Fi. I tried reconnecting, but messages started flooding in instead. Caleb, Oliver's asking for you. Maybe you should reconsider this Paris thing. Mom, he needs stability right now, not a globe-trotting mother. Lily, call me ASAP. Caleb's filing for primary custody. The room spun. I grabbed the desk for support, knocking over my makeup case. Brushes and palettes scattered across the floor like my shattered life. A knock at the door. Vanessa stood there, perfect as always in her model pose. Harper? The designer wants to discuss tomorrow's look. Get out. My voice sounded strange, distant. Are you okay? You look like someone who lost everything? I laughed, harsh and broken. While you're here living your dream career, my ex-husband and his new girlfriend are stealing my son. Vanessa stepped inside, closing the door. Caleb's filing for custody? Don't pretend you care. I started picking up scattered makeup brushes, hands shaking. This is what you wanted, right? To destroy my life? I never wanted. Save it. A brush snapped in my grip. You know what's funny? I thought doing your makeup, making you look perfect for these shows, would be my revenge. Show you both what you lost. But you didn't lose anything, did you? You got your career, your freedom. I'm the one who lost everything. Harper, stop. Vanessa grabbed my hands, forcing me to look at her. Caleb doesn't deserve Oliver. Or you. Or any woman. He's a narcissist who collects people like trophies. I learned that too late, but you're stronger than I ever was. I pulled away. Strong? I'm in Paris doing makeup while another woman bakes cookies with my son. No, you're in Paris building your career while Caleb plays house with his latest victim. She picked up my phone, showing me the cookie photo. Look closer. I did. Behind Oliver's smiling face, I saw what she meant. The kitchen I'd loved was now stark white, my colorful curtains gone, my spice rack replaced with modern minimalism. Sarah's influence, erasing me piece by piece. He's doing to her what he did to us, Vanessa said quietly. Creating the perfect life, the perfect woman. Until she stops being perfect. My phone buzzed again. Lily, don't panic. I've called your lawyer. Sarah's history of job hopping and 3 failed engagements won't look good in court. We've got this. Lily. Always fighting in my corner while I ran away to Paris. The show starts in 12 hours, Vanessa said, gathering my scattered supplies. Make me beautiful. Make me perfect. Then we'll talk about how to handle Caleb. I stared at her, this woman I'd hated for so long. Why would you help me? Because I sent those first photos to you. She met my eyes steadily. I knew what he was doing to others, and I chose you to send them to. Because you seemed strong enough to break the cycle. The makeup brush felt different in my hand now. Not a tool for revenge, but for transformation. For both of us. Sit down, I said, my voice stronger. Let's make you unforgettable. Then you can tell me everything you know about Caleb's patterns. Every detail. Sometimes rock bottom isn't an ending. Sometimes it's where you find your strongest allies and your clearest purpose. The courthouse hallway felt endless. My heels clicked against marble as I approached the mediation room, Lily and my lawyer flanking me like guards. Through the glass, I could see Caleb and Sarah already seated, heads bent together in conversation. Remember, my lawyer whispered, stick to the facts. Don't let him provoke you. I nodded, clutching a manila envelope that contained everything Vanessa had given me in Paris, photos, emails, hotel receipts. A paper trail of destruction that led straight to Caleb's perfectly crafted facade. The door opened. Caleb stood, all corporate charm and practiced concern. Harper, you're looking well. Paris agreed with you. Let's skip the small talk. I sat across from him, noting how Sarah's hand tightened possessively on his arm. She looked younger in person, more vulnerable. Just his type. The mediator began with custody arrangements. Caleb's lawyer presented their case for primary custody, citing my unstable work schedule and international travel commitments. My client can provide consistency, he argued. A stable home environment with his fiancée. Fiancé? The word escaped before I could stop it. Sarah's diamond ring caught the fluorescent light, mocking me. Caleb smiled that familiar smile, the one that used to make me feel special, chosen. We were going to announce it this weekend. Oliver's already calling her mommy. The room tilted. Lily's hand found mine under the table as Caleb continued, it's time to be realistic, Harper. Oliver needs to know the truth? I opened the envelope, sliding the first photo across the table. About his father's pattern of manipulation? Caleb's smile faltered. Sarah leaned forward, confusion clouding her features as she studied the image, Caleb with another woman, dated just 2 weeks ago. This is irrelevant, Caleb's lawyer interjected, but I kept going, laying out photo after photo, email after email. 6 women in the past year, I said quietly. Each one thinking they were special, chosen. Each one manipulated into believing they were the only one. I turned to Sarah. Has he taken you to La Petite Maison in Paris yet? It's his favorite spot for proposals. Sarah's face drained of color. Caleb? She's lying, he snapped, but his mask was cracking. These are obviously doctored. The hotel receipts aren't doctored, I continued. Neither are the credit card statements or the burner phone records. Would you like to explain those? The mediator cleared her throat. Perhaps we should take a break. No. Sarah's voice shook. I want to hear this. She picked up one of the photos, studying it. This was last week. You said you were in Vancouver for work. Caleb stood abruptly, chair scraping against floor. This is ridiculous. I won't sit here and listen to these accusations. Sit down, Mr. Foster, the mediator ordered. Or this mediation ends and we move directly to court proceedings. He sat, but his eyes burned into mine. Why are you doing this? Because Oliver deserves better, I said simply. Better than watching you cycle through women, better than learning that lies and manipulation are normal. Better than becoming you. Sarah stood quietly, slipping off her engagement ring. It clinked against the table as she walked out, dignity intact, but shoulders shaking. You've ruined everything, Caleb hissed. No, I corrected him. You did that yourself. I'm just making sure you can't ruin anyone else. I turned to the mediator. I have a custody proposal. Joint legal custody, but Oliver's primary residence stays with me. Mr. Foster can have supervised visitation until he completes therapy and parenting classes. Caleb laughed bitterly. You think this makes you better than me? Destroying my relationship, my reputation? No, Caleb. This makes me different from you. Because unlike you, I'm thinking about Oliver's future, not my revenge. As we left the mediation room, Lily squeezed my hand. You okay? I watched Caleb through the glass, alone now, staring at the evidence of his destructive patterns spread across the table. For the first time, he looked small, ordinary, just a man who couldn't stop breaking things. Yeah, I said, surprising myself by meaning it. I really am. 1 year later, I sat in my home office, staring at the blinking cursor on my laptop screen. The blog post was almost finished, my 100th entry about surviving betrayal and rebuilding life after divorce. What had started as therapy had somehow become a lifeline for thousands of women going through similar struggles. A notification popped up, Vanessa Reed liked your post. We'd developed an unexpected friendship since Paris. Bonding over our shared experience and determination to warn others about men like Caleb. Her modeling career had taken off, and she'd become an advocate for women's empowerment in the fashion industry. Oliver's laughter drifted through the open window. He was playing in the backyard with Caleb, their first unsupervised visit since the custody agreement. I watched them from my desk, noting how Caleb had changed. The designer suits were gone, replaced by casual clothes and genuine smiles. Therapy had stripped away his perfect facade, revealing something more human underneath. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, thank you for saving me from making a huge mistake. Getting married next month to someone real. Would love for you to do my makeup for the wedding. I smiled, remembering how she'd reached out months ago, wanting to understand what had happened. We'd met for coffee, 2 women healing from the same man's manipulation. Her engagement ring now belonged to someone who deserved her trust. Harper? Lily appeared in my doorway, carrying 2 glasses of wine. Your parents just called. They want to know if you're still coming to dinner tonight. Wouldn't miss it. I saved my blog post and closed the laptop. Dad's making his famous pot roast. The same pot roast from that awful dinner when everything started falling apart? The very same. I took a glass from her, remembering that night. Who would have thought that was actually the beginning of everything coming together? Outside, Oliver squealed as Caleb pushed him on the swing. Higher and higher, but not too high. Caleb was learning boundaries, finally understanding that love wasn't about possession or perfection. Your latest post is trending, Lily noted, scrolling through her phone. The one about forgiveness, not meaning reconciliation. It's what everyone struggles with most. I watched Oliver jump from the swing into Caleb's arms. Learning that you can forgive someone while still choosing yourself. The doorbell rang. My date for dinner, a kind-eyed photographer I'd met at Fashion Week. We were taking things slowly, both carrying our own histories, both understanding that trust is earned in small moments rather than grand gestures. Time to go in, I called out the window. Oliver ran inside, Caleb following more slowly. Thanks for today, he said, lingering in the doorway. And for everything else. The therapy recommendations, the second chance with Oliver. We're both doing better this way, I replied simply. After they left, Oliver for his playdate, Caleb to his own life, my date to reschedule for another time, I returned to my laptop. The cursor still blinked, waiting for me to finish my story. I typed, revenge isn't always about destruction. Sometimes it's about reconstruction, building yourself into something stronger than before. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well, loving deeply, and letting go of the perfect picture you thought your life would be. Lily read over my shoulder. That's it? That's how you're ending it? No, I said, adding one final line, because the end of one story is just the beginning of another. And this time, I'm writing my own. I hit publish and stood up, ready for dinner with my parents. Ready for whatever came next. The manila envelope of Caleb's indiscretions still sat in my desk drawer, untouched for months. I didn't need it anymore, its purpose had been served, not just in saving me, but in saving others too. Outside, the sunset painted Seattle in shades of possibility. My phone buzzed with notifications as the blog post went live. Each one representing someone else finding their way through darkness toward something real. Sometimes the happiest endings aren't about getting everything you wanted, but about discovering what you actually needed. And sometimes, just sometimes, those two things turn out to be completely different stories.